Hello, Audioholics. This is Logan, and welcome to Audioholics Unite. Today on Audioholics Unite, strap in Audioholics and Audioholikites. Uh,
We're doing Opeth again, but this time a
oh,
live album.
and it's gonna be long as fucking shit.
It's actually 2 hours and 45 minutes. I didn't realize how long it was. I thought it was only like 2 hours and 20 minutes. But
Yeah,
you
that
know
still would
what?
have been
It's
long as
worth it.
fuck.
It's worth it because this is a great fucking album. Probably I haven't actually heard it all, but it's Opeth. How bad could it be?
What could
So
possibly go wrong?
there's a few reasons why I wanted to do this one. I mentioned to Logan that I wanted to cover some live albums on the show, and this was not the first one that came to mind to me. I actually was originally going to do the Iced Earth one, but, given recent events, and
We
also
should
the fact that
probably,
it's 3 hours long.
yeah, yeah. Like, given recent events, we might want to like hold off on that one.
Yeah, so I decided to do my second choice, which is Opeth, and the only other
The
reason I
recent
wanted to do
events
this
being,
one,
by the way, the recent events being that it's snowing outside and no other reason.
no other reason whatsoever. No,
Yeah, he
not at
definitely
all.
didn't
Spray bear mace at police officers, storm the Capitol, join the Oath Keepers. None of that.
none of that. What are the Oath Keepers?
Like some sort of white supremacist, far right conservative conspiracy group. He
Oh,
was wearing
okay.
one of their caps at the Capitol
Okay.
riots. Although the Oath Keepers have said they have nothing to do with him, I think they're full of shit, because if they had nothing to do with him, why would he be wearing one of their fucking caps?
I mean, you could
Anyway.
probably just get that printed on anything.
Well, yeah, but like you wouldn't get a white supremacist cap printed on you if you weren't a white supremacist, right?
I mean, yeah, I don't know. Like, the thing that I would think of is like, it's like, calling yourself Black Lives Matter. It's like such a disorganized thing that anybody
Yeah,
can do that.
pretty much. So anyway, yeah, so we're doing
Anyway,
Opeth.
Opeth.
This is a really good album if you want to get a great idea of most of their early works. I think this album doesn't have anything from. Oh, it does have one song from Ghost Reveries. It has a few songs from Blackwater Park. It has, I think, one song from The Moor, one song from their debut. I think there's even a song here from Watershed, I think, and Deliverance. Like, it's a good variety of songs from their more like heavy albums. So if you're somebody who hasn't like quite gotten into Opeth yet and you want like a good variety of songs from different albums to see if it would be your thing
Yeah.
or if you could even get into them at all, then this is a great album for you to listen to.
Yeah, so let's just jump right into this album.
Yeah, it's
we
a
don't
long
need
one.
to we don't need to do preamble. Let's just like we'll have plenty of time to talk
Oh yeah.
uh before the album goes underway. So, as always, the the link to the album will be in the description below. I highly recommend, assuming that I can get it on YouTube, I recommend using ad block. Otherwise, if it's not available on YouTube, which that has actually happened a couple times, I recommend you only do it with a Spotify premium account because, again, you want to avoid ads so that everything is in sync. Also, in the description will be our previous Audioholics episodes, and if you want to see if you like what you saw and you want to see more, I recommend tuning in every Monday because we will be uploading those then. So, without further ado, let's just jump on into it. Lot, and this is in live concert at the Royal Albert Hall, starting in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. The Leper
The Leper
Aff-
Affinity.
Affinity.
So the first CD or like the first 8 songs, they just play through the Blackwater Park album in full, which is kind of cool.
So this is okay.
Yeah, they're just this first side is just them playing through the Blackwater Park album in full, which isn't something you get in a lot of live albums, but I'm glad they did
Yeah.
it here because it gives me time to talk about some interesting things about the band.
The Who
But
would
before
just
that,
like play through like the entire Tommy set list. I think that they might have been like the first ones to really do that.
a lot of bands do that live, especially in the beginning, but
Yeah.
especially with concept albums, a lot of bands
Yeah.
play through the whole thing in live sets.
Yeah.
Anyway, before we do that, for those of you who haven't seen our previous Opeth episode, let's talk a little bit about our history with the band. So for me, Opeth is a band that took me a long time to get into. I started with the Blackwater Park album, and as you can probably hear from this song alone, it's pretty fucking brutal. It's heavy as hell. Really hard to get into for someone who's not at all into that kind of music.
Yeah.
At the time, I was really into like Haken and Leprous and Dream Theater and stuff like that. I wasn't really listening to death metal or anything heavier than like thrash metal. So this type of music was really just like kind of a slap to the face for me. I really wasn't into it yet. But over time, I started listening to like Gojira, Death, Morbid Angel, some more death metal bands. I got a little bit of a widened horizon, specifically with our Rolling Jones series, actually.
Yeah.
I was listening to a lot of those albums for that series before we started it. So I revisited Opeth for my Getting Into Prague video, and even then, I listened to Blackwater Park probably 3 or 4 times, and I still wasn't into it. By the way, I fucking love this riff. Fucking amazing. Anyway, so I tried Still Life, and that's when it finally clicked for me. After all of that time and effort trying to get into Opeth, Still Life was the album that got me into the band. And after that, I've just loved everything I've heard by them. I find them to be such a brilliant band. And Still Life at this point stands as my favorite album of all time now, just narrowly beating out In the Court of the Crimson King. So, despite all that, though, I haven't actually heard every album by the band. I've heard their debut, I've heard Morning Rise, I've heard Still Life, of course, Blackwater Park, Ghost Reveries, Deliverance. I've heard bits of Damnation, and I've heard the newer one, In Cauda Venenum. But I haven't heard any of the other ones yet. So I really got to try and listen to some of those other albums. What about you? What's your history with the band Logang?
Or lack thereof.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
don't have much of one.
yeah, I've listened to basically whatever he's shown me. We did an Audioholics. I don't remember what album it was.
It was Still Life, which
Okay.
if you'd like to go and watch that episode, go right ahead. It's a fucking great album. I
It'll
recommend it
be
to
in the
anyone.
playlist that I linked in the description. But um this I was pretty impressed with what I heard. I always said that Opeth is a band I theoretically could get into. And this is probably the best way of doing it because it's sort of just the greatest hits of their entire discography.
Well, at least their death metal era, I would say.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any songs from their newer, more like regular clean era on here.
When did this come out?
2005.
Okay.
Or 2010, sorry, not 2005.
Okay.
Yeah, there's no songs on here that are from like the newer albums like Sorceress or Heritage or anything like that. It's all basically their death metal era, I think. There might be one song on there from Damnation, but that was like a sister album to Deliverance.
Okay.
Yeah, so this song is the opening track of Blackwater Park, and it's considered a favorite by many. It's the heaviest, most brutal song in their entire discography, at least in my opinion. It's so fucking heavy the whole way through. It's so technical. It is just, and it has moments like this, which are really pretty. By the way,
Yeah.
a little fun fact about their playing live. You might be thinking, well, how is he like switching out a distortion-ridden guitar for an acoustic guitar? Well, I had that question too, so I looked it up
You would just
online.
flick
Apparently,
off a switch, right?
no. So apparently, they have a pickup in their guitars that simulate the sound of an acoustic guitar. Stimulating. That's actually pretty cool, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
But that's how they do it. That's why it doesn't sound exactly like an acoustic guitar, but it still sounds pretty similar. And they can do like all the acoustic clean bits in the songs. I think
like
one of the
this
things, I'm sorry, go on.
part of the song.
The really like clean part, yeah.
Yeah.
I think the thing I really like about Opeth Live is that they are playing such complex and technical and like what's the word for something that moves around a lot? That type of music, but they're doing it so flawlessly. Like, can you hear one mistake in this? I mean, how do you even get that technically brilliant out of an instrument? I mean, even
I mean,
Dream Theater makes mistakes.
well, yeah, that's because James Labrie sucks.
Yeah, seriously. And on top of all of that, keep in mind Michael Ackerfeld is singing, so he's playing these ridiculously complex riffs and singing on top of that. Even Dream Theater doesn't do that.
Just tons of practice, I guess.
I guess. I don't know, man. But it blows
Labrie's
me away.
too lazy to do that.
If I ever get the chance to see Opeth live, and I said this even before I really liked them, I would go in an instant.
Yeah.
Because just to see the spectacle, you know? So, okay, let me talk a bit about the Blackwater Park album, since this is what we're listening to now. In this era of the live album, it's just that album. They're playing it the whole way through. So, the original Blackwater Park album is what really made the band take off. It's what got them on the map. Still Life got them some acclaim, sure, like in niche circles, but they were never really like a mainstream band until Blackwater Park. Blackwater Park, I think, charted pretty well too, in like the worldwide charts. I think it went either gold or silver, something like that. It got some sort of award. Let me look that up real quick. Blackwater Park.
Yeah,
It
but
went
I
I
really
don't know
like
where it goes
the
on this.
mixing. I really like the mixing of this concert. It kind of has like that arena rock sound to it, even though this is not arena rock.
Yeah.
Really good mixing. Does Ackerfeld mix these albums himself, or is it someone else?
I believe what is the name of this album? It's Live at Albert Hall. Live at Royal. I can look it up. Albert Hall by Opeth. So it was mixed by. Yep, it was Ackerfeld who did the mixing on this one. So anyway, Blackwater Park was their most successful album. I couldn't find whether or not it went gold or anything, but I'm pretty sure I read somewhere that it did. Sold a lot of copies. Even today, it's a very popular album. And I think a big reason for that is Steven Wilson's involvement. Now, if you've seen my Getting Into Prog video, you know all about this. But basically, Steven Wilson is the last prog episode we did on, or I guess it wasn't really prog, it was a pop album. But
yeah, the last episode of Audioholics Unite.
Yeah. He is a very God, I cannot think of words tonight. Prolific. He's a very prolific artist. He was in Porcupine Tree, he has a solo career. He's mixed a ton of stuff. He's featured in a ton of stuff. It's everywhere, basically. And one of the places he was is Blackwater Park. He handled all the production aspects of that album and also provided guest vocals and even guest solos on the album. And I think he even assisted in writing a little bit of the lyrics and things like that. So he was very involved in the writing of Blackwater Park.
I wonder who did his parts on this
in the live show.
Ackerfeld
Ackerfeld sings all the leads, even though Wilson did the chorus of Bleak, which we're about to hear. Ackerfeld sings it here, and he does a good job, but it's no Steven Wilson, put it that way. So we're now on Bleak, which is one of my favorite songs off Blackwater Park. I think the thing that makes this album so special in comparison to the rest of Opeth's discography is its atmosphere. And you can really thank Steven Wilson for that, because his production, his mixing style, the things he added, all made this really dark, eerie sort of atmosphere. It makes you feel like you're alone, in like a really eerie, dark
I already
forest.
really like this riff. I just thought I'd point that out.
Oh yeah. I'll admit, I do not like the Leper Affinity that much. I mean, it's a good song, but I don't think it's the best thing on the album.
It really kind
This
of
song's
has
way
like
better.
this kind of has like a Middle Eastern sound to it with the guitar riffs.
Yeah, the yeah.
And a really cool bass line as well to boot.
Yeah, the verse sections of this song are really cool. I like the lead line that you can hear in the verse, like the Again, all of that is like adding to atmosphere. The only reason that's there is to make it sound more atmospheric.
This sounds to me like he's alone in the desert, far away from Oasis, about to die.
So, Blackwater Park, a common theme with that album in lyrically is death. Every song, it's kind of a concept album, but not really. It's a concept album in the same way Dark Side of the Moon is a concept album. Every song deals with like a similar
aspects
theme,
of
right?
death. Yeah.
And that's what this is basically. Every song has something to do with the place, Blackwater Park.
Yeah.
In this song, I believe it's a story, it's a narrative about a guy who found out his girlfriend was cheating on him, and so he takes her to Blackwater Park and kills her and sends her body into the lake.
Where have I heard of Blackwater Park? I feel like that's an. Oh no, I'm thinking of Lakeside Park. I think from Rush.
I believe Ackerfeld said he got the name from a prog band called Blackwater Park.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a rock band named Blackwater Park.
Yeah,
He
you
said
know what I think it
kinda
is?
suck,
I think,
though.
yeah. No, I know what I was thinking. I was mixing Lakeside Park and Black Country Rock.
Gotcha.
Lakeside Park by Rush, Black Country Rock by David Bowie.
Yeah, so just to dispel this in case you all were thinking it, I actually never heard this live album before. I wasn't even aware of the whole track listing. I just chose it because it has the more on it. So
Okay.
I actually didn't know that they played the entire Blackwater Park album the whole way through until we started the show and I looked at the track listing.
You know, you could have just saved us like an hour and a half and just, played Blackwater Park.
Probably. But no, I didn't want to play the other live album because that one has basically only new Opeth songs on it.
Well, that's like the one I'm more interested in and would probably like more.
Maybe, but I feel like this is the more definitive era of the band.
Okay.
Be like listening to Metallica, but only like the load and reload era. You know?
Some people do.
Some people do, but those people are heathens. I love this chorus. This was originally sung by Steven Wilson on the album.
Yeah, and I would like to hear that version, honestly, because I feel like it would have been done a lot better.
It was. Not that Ackerfeld is a bad singer, he's a great singer, but that chorus was not made for him. It was made for Wilson.
Steven Wilson had a much like higher register, and it lends itself to that.
I will say you and I will get to hear the Blackwater Park album, the studio version, because it's like number 54 on the Rolling Drones. Yeah, so we'll get there eventually, but I think the one downside of listening to this live is you lose a lot of the atmosphere because we don't get Steven Wilson's production quality or his mixing. We get Ackerfeld's. But as a trade-off, we get to hear it live, which is pretty fucking awesome. I mean, to listen to this amazing music live is just, in my opinion, an incredible experience.
This
by the way,
your way of like having an excuse to listen to 3 Opeth albums in one video asshole.
It is not. It is not. Honestly, like, I really just wanted you to have a good idea of what the early Opeth albums were without
Yeah.
listening to all of them.
Yeah. We're just listening to all of them with an audience behind them.
So the track listing as we go through after the Blackwater Park album is over, we get one song from the debut, Forest of October. Then we get a few from My Arms, Your Hearse, one from Still Life, one from Deliverance. I believe Hope Leaves is from Damnation. And then we get Harlequin Forest, which was from Ghost Reveries. And then The Lotus Eater, which was from Watershed, I believe. Which I
I
haven't
would just
actually
like to
heard yet.
point out that we are still on the first song and like
Second.
maybe a little over, or second song and just a little over halfway. This is gonna be fucking exhausting.
You mean
This
halfway
is
through the
why,
song?
huh?
You mean halfway through the song?
Halfway through the song, yeah. A little over.
It's nearly over. It's nearly over. Keep in mind that some of the like, I don't know if it happens in this track specifically, but Ackerfeld likes to talk in his live shows. So we're gonna get to hear some of that in this. He's a really funny guy on stage.
Yeah,
I
see,
remember
this is why
sorry, go on.
we don't do a lot of live shows, a lot of live albums, is
Because
because
they're long.
they're
They're really long.
We've only ever done this once, and we might do it again later.
Yeah, but one of the reasons why I wanted to do a few of these is because I wanted a few longer episodes out there.
Yeah.
We only have one longer episode right now, but we have a ton of shorter ones.
Yeah, like we have the only other live album I believe we ever did was Metallica S&M 2 when that came out. Which that was a fun album, but God,
I mean, it got exhausting towards the second half, but
yeah,
I've prepared some stuff for us to talk about this time. So
Yeah.
if we get bored of talking about the music, we can lean back on that.
yeah,
But I doubt that'll happen because I know a lot of like stuff about Opeth as a band.
Yeah.
So as we go throughout the album, I can talk about different eras of the
Yeah.
band and things like that. I think this is going to be the hardest part just because it's Blackwater Park. And I basically already said everything I wanted to say about the album itself.
yeah,
I will say that one thing I don't like as much about live Opeth is that I don't feel like I can hear the different guitars as well. In the mix of a regular studio... Oh, by the way, I fucking love this outro. Listen to that riff. In a regular Opeth album, you can really hear like the rhythm guitar, the lead guitar. You can hear a guitar being eboed in the solo of Bleak, which is really cool, by the way, very atmospheric. You can hear like the bass, you can hear everything like really clearly, but I don't feel like you get that as much with the live show, which is unfortunate because all those elements are still there, I think. Or most of them anyway. But since you're not mixing it like an album, it's just kind of a wall of sound sometimes.
yeah.
So we are now on Harvest.
Here's some atmosphere. This is so Pink Floyd already.
Yeah, so this was by the way, what second are you on?
Right now, I am on 20 seconds.
Okay.
We are on Harvest.
I think I was a bit ahead of you, so I was trying to sync up a little better. Anyway, yeah, so Harvest in the original album was an acoustic track. It's a very like somber piece about a guy who's dying.
Yeah.
Really long intro.
Breathe in the air.
I saw a video of Ackerfeld like watching fan covers of his songs, and during Harvest, he was like, "God, my intros are so long. Why do you listen to this?" He's like, "I'm sorry. I write really long intros. I apologize for that." He's not wrong, though. He does.
Because he's overcompensating for something else, duh.
Yeah, of course. Of course. Something that may not be quite so long.
Yeah.
if you catch my
veiny.
drift.
And veiny.
I vastly prefer the studio version of this song, I'll admit, but I do think I prefer the live version of Leper Affinity because that song is so fucking heavy. It just makes sense that it should be a live song. But yeah, this song is very Pink Floyd. Which, you know, Ackerfeld's a prog guy. I mean, we know he was very hugely influenced by, like, the 70s prog scene.
They all were.
Like, yes, Gentle Giant, King Crimson, like, all those guys. Rush, of course. Although you don't hear Rush as much in their sound, I think.
Yeah. I'm sure
at least not in the heavier stuff. You really hear the Rush and Floyd influences on Damnation. That might be, if you really like this song, that might be an album for you to go to, because that album is basically entirely, I think I told you before, they did Deliverance and Damnation together. Deliverance was supposed to be the really heavy one, and then Damnation, the really clean one. In fact, I don't think there's a single death metal growl on the whole album.
Wow.
It's all just like really Floydian prog.
Floydian.
Yeah.
Is that like a Floydian slip? Like,
no, that's what Ackerfeld's doing in this song.
yeah.
This entire song is a fucking Floydian slip.
This is some very good set songs.
I think one of the interesting things about Opeth is, like, you can listen to a song like Leper Affinity and go right into this, and you really don't feel that, like, shock that you would. Do you remember when we were listening to that Accept album? There's a new Accept album that came out, for those of you who don't know, and we were listening to it, and then just like a random ballad came on. I was like, uh-oh, this isn't gonna work. And it felt like you had such a shock, like a car just like randomly stopped all of a sudden. You were like, woo! You don't get that with Opeth, because like it just makes sense.
Because they do
I don't
this
know
shit
how
in
else
the middle
to
of the
describe
song
it.
anyway.
That's true. They do stuff like this all the time, even in their heavier
is, like,
songs.
Really bluesy now with like the blues guitar.
Oh yeah.
And again, it's mixed really well, especially for a live concert. Like, the one blues guitar is exclusively on the right channel for me.
Yeah, same. And you can hear that. I think that's a synth on the left side going like, just adding to the atmosphere.
Exactly. This feels really. I would, if the actual album is mixed this good, and
it's mixed
which
better.
You're saying you're saying it's mixed better. I do need to check that out, just for the technical side of it alone.
That's one of those albums you should listen to on your like surround stereo thing.
Yeah.
I really like Ackerfeld's vocals.
Connected on, that are paired over Bluetooth.
So I think like most people, if they were to sing in the style Ackerfeld does, we would both go, fuck yourself. That sounds like shit.
Yeah.
But for some reason, Ackerfeld's voice is just so perfectly suited to the way he sings. Yeah. It just works. You know, like fucking Bethesda. It just works. It just works.
Except when it doesn't work. Like, you know, Skyrim in the early years. Or Fallout 76.
Never happens with Opeth, though.
Yeah. Wait, was Fallout 76 Bethesda? I don't remember.
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's one of the interesting things about Opeth is Ackerfeld's vocals, and they change a lot throughout the albums, too. Like, in the earlier albums, he barely does any cleans at all, and when he does them, they're, like, kind of like grungy moans, almost. But then you go to an album like In Coda Venenum, which is like most recent one, has all clean vocals. And he's like singing like somebody from Yes or something. Super like operatic, high vibrato stuff. Actually, at times, kind of reminds me of like Alice in Chains style vocals.
I don't know what the original version of this sounds like, but I feel like I would like the live version better. Since you said the...
You mean the studio version or the live version?
The live version, because you said the studio version is like mostly acoustic.
Yeah,
it seems like it has much wider of a soundscape.
So like I said, they have that pickup on the electric guitars, which makes them sound like acoustic guitars, but on the record, they are acoustic guitars. But I would say there's actually a wider range of sounds on the studio album because in addition to the acoustic guitars playing rhythm, they still have the electric guitars playing like that bluesy solo and then all the other stuff going on. So this is probably the song. This is the Drapery Falls. And this is the song that I would probably these days introduce people to the band with because it has that perfect blend between the clean, beautiful stuff in the beginning and then the really heavy stuff later. And it builds up to that.
I just realized at the end of all of this, I'm going to have to somehow evaluate it.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I can tell you right now, based on the track listing, I'm thinking maybe 8.5, because one, it's really long. Two, there were some songs I wish they would have played that were off other albums. Like, how do you not play Ghost of Perdition? That's probably their most popular song. You're not playing Ghost of Perdition? What? What about The Great Conjuration? What about Serenity Painted Death? What about, like, I there's just some stuff that's weird. I don't know why they added certain ones in.
I mean, the length, I don't think, because I do kind of like try to look at it objectively. The length bothers me, but it wouldn't bother an Opeth fan.
Yes, it would. Like, even me, 2 hours and 45 minutes is a long listen.
Yeah,
their
but
albums usually aren't that long.
It's prog. Like, they're used to long, droning bouts of nothing.
Were you going to continue, or?
Yeah, fuck you, Tyler.
I was trying to let you talk before I interrupted.
Okay.
But if you're done, I wouldn't say there's really any bouts of nothing on this album. There's always like something interesting going on, even if the thing that's interesting is space.
Yeah.
I love this melody.
This song is good so far. Again, really I don't know if this would be as good. I don't know if this would be as good with an acoustic guitar, though.
I don't remember if this one is acoustic. I think there's an acoustic guitar there, but it's mostly electric. I could be wrong. It's been a while.
But even the last song, I haven't heard it before, so I could be totally wrong. But the electric guitar, it makes it sound so much more bluesy and smooth. I don't know if an acoustic guitar would.
I mean, you might be right. You'll just have to listen to the studio album and make up your mind. Get your opinion out. I mean, if you prefer the live version, that's a perfectly valid opinion. I mean, there are a lot of bands I prefer their live versions, like Blue Oyster Cult, for instance.
Yeah, I would say they're probably the best, like, distinction between studio and live. What are some other ones?
Thank You, Scientist is also really great live, because you know how they do solos on their albums? Well, they're all improvised when they play live. They don't play anything the same except for like the themes. All the solos are improvised live.
So I know I might have to trigger you to like bring up this band's namesake, but Kiss is another example of a band that's way better live than in the studio.
Well, you know what? I can agree to that. I mean, maybe not anymore. I've heard a lot of people say they're not really good anymore live, but maybe back in their prime. Back in their prime, like Kiss was an exclusively live band for a lot of people. I mean, one of their most famous albums, a live one, is a fucking live album. Well, I mean,
their
it was
live
probably
albums
recorded in the studio, but
like, not only are their live albums their most popular albums, they're some of the best live albums of all time, according to a lot of fans of classic rock. So I would also add that I don't think a live 1 is as good as a live 2, because a live 2 has the better songs. It has Detroit Rock City. It has like all of the good songs off of Rock and Roll Over, I Want You, Dr. Love, songs like that. They even have like some bonus studio tracks like at the very end.
Oh, that's cool.
And that was on. And that's just that's not new either. Those tracks were on the back of the vinyl as well.
So this actually very smoothly brings me into one of the things that I wanted to talk about during the video, if we got bored of talking about the music,
Yeah.
what are some of your favorite live albums of all time and why?
You know, I think I was actually gonna make a list on that at some point, never did. But
Like Unleashed in the East, Cheap
yeah,
Trick at
Unleashed in the
Budokan,
East. Huh?
Cheap Trick at Budokan, MTV
Yeah.
Unplugged, Nirvana.
Oh, I might actually say that one. Two others I would add in that vein though are Live at the San Quentin by Johnny Cash and Live at Leeds by The
The
Who.
Who. The Who.
Yeah.
I'd say
We
like
Let the
On Your
Dogs
Feet or
Out.
On Your Knees by Blue Oyster Cult's a
Oh,
big one for
that's
me.
another good one.
That's a fucking great live album. And also, I know I said earlier that we weren't going to listen to it because of recent events, but objectively speaking, Alive in Athens by Iced Earth is a fucking amazing
Yeah.
live album. It really is. It's so good. One of the best ever made, in my opinion.
Rush had some really good live albums. All the World's
Exit
a
Stage
Stage and
Left.
Exit Stage Left specifically are really good live albums.
Yeah. Rush is another band that I think, like, maybe controversial to say this, but might have been a lot better live.
Yeah, it definitely some of their songs, I would say. Like The Trees, I would say, is better live. Passage to Bangkok is better live.
I think 2112 is hands down better live.
Yeah.
And of course, like the early stuff too, like stuff from Fly By Night, Anthem.
Anthem is way better live than in the studio.
So much fucking better. So much fucking better. It's so much heavier.
Fly By Night as well.
So you know what I said about like the song building up? Like think about where the song started and where it is now and realize it has changed completely and you didn't even notice. Yeah. That's how talented this band is at composition. I just thought I would point that out real quick. Back to what we were talking about, live albums. I think another great example of a live album would be oh shit, why am I forgetting the name of it? It's a Metallica live album.
S&M.
There you go. S&M. That'd be another example of one of my favorite live albums. I would argue
it's a little bit hit or miss, but what it does is something that, you know, a lot of bands did that afterwards. Scorpions did a similar album where they performed with an orchestra.
Yeah.
There was.
Am I back now? Am I good? Hello?
You were never gone.
Am I back now?
You were never gone.
I lagged on my computer.
Okay.
Like my video stopped and then the album went on repeat, so I thought I might have dropped out for a second or something. I don't know. Okay. Anyway, I was talking about S&M. I think S&M is like the songs better than the originals or not. It's just cool to hear it. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
You were saying something about the Scorpions doing it? I actually didn't know that they did that.
I don't actually remember where it is, but it's somewhere.
It's somewhere, I'm sure.
Yeah, I know they did something with like, I don't remember if it was the London Symphony Orchestra or something like that.
You know who did something with an orchestra that was terrible? Dave Mustaine.
Oh,
he played like dog shit in that show.
Everything Mustaine does is like, well, Metallica did it, so obviously we can do it better.
Mustaine is such a fucking he's such a jealous
salty
prick.
He's so salty and it hurts,
but it's also kind of awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, again, one of my controversial opinions, I don't really like Megadeth much. I like Rust in Peace.
I've been meaning to listen to that album again because I listened to it maybe once 4 years ago, something like that. Whenever I saw them live, I was like, okay, I need to check out Megadeth. So I picked out what people were telling me was like their best, most popular album, and it was Rust in Peace. So I checked that one out.
Yeah, I think that's hands down the best thing they've ever made. I mean, no other album has a song like Tornado of Souls on it.
Yeah.
And I don't mean a song like it in style. I mean just something as good as it.
Yeah.
Peace Sells, But Who's Buying is a good album, but it doesn't touch the worst song on Rust in Peace.
Yeah.
Killing Is My Business is arguably bad at times, in my opinion. And some of the later Megadeth albums, I mean, they're not bad, but they don't stand out like Rust in Peace did.
I've heard later Megadeth is pretty good. I need to check that out.
Dystopia is probably my favorite of the later
The one with
Megadeth
the
albums.
I'd say my favorite Megadeth song is "The Threat Is Real." They played that live when I
We
saw
are
them.
on Dirge for November. Okay, go on. The Threat
Yeah,
is
my
real.
favorites. Yeah, I saw Megadeth live, and "The Threat Is Real." They played that, and that might actually be my favorite Megadeth song.
That's off Dystopia, actually.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Have you like actually listened to that full album?
Yeah. Like I have really
Does
tried to get into
does
to
anything
Megadeth.
does anything like is anything on that level of "The Threat Is Real"?
I mean, it's all comparable, at least in my
Okay.
opinion.
So like if I like that song, I would probably like the rest of the album.
Probably. Megadeth is nothing if not consistent.
Yeah.
At least like in the quality of particular albums. Rust in Peace is great the whole way through,
Yeah.
but it doesn't have much variety, and neither does any other Megadeth album. It's all like pretty consistently the same. The only example of that I can think of is like that one really like bassy song from Rust in Peace, but even that was like
Yeah.
not too big of a
Oh, Dawn
departure.
Patrol, that's like one of the best songs on the record.
Oh
And it's
yeah,
just an
but
intro.
it's great, but like it's not that much of a departure, right? It still
Yeah.
kind of sounds like the rest of the songs, just not as guitar-y.
Yeah, but
Just listen to how amazing this
yeah,
is, by the way.
this
Like
is
this
so
really
amazing.
laid back,
Yeah.
again, Floydian type of
Yeah,
sound.
exactly. I you know what? You know what? I was gonna say I'd listen to this. By the time I'm done with this album, I'm not going to listen to music for another 5 weeks at least. But
5 weeks.
the groundhog saw his shadow.
I mean,
We are recording this on Groundhog's Day, by the way.
If it comes down to it, we could cut it short after like the second disc.
No,
And just tell people we listen to the first discs.
We're not gonna do that. We're not gonna do that. No
I'm
matter
just saying,
how
if you're
long
gonna
it
be
is,
that big of a pussy,
I'm not gonna be that big of a pussy. We are finishing this album. I committed to it. It's gonna happen.
All right. You know, one thing that's really unique about Opeth is riffs like this. Can you think of
Yeah.
any other band that writes riffs like this?
Kind of sounds a bit like Tool, at least right now. Like
I don't know. Like
really
Tool's more about single
atmospheric.
notes.
Yeah, like it
This
all
is
kind
more
of
like
comes down to like the
chords.
riffs aren't catchy in any way. They just fit the atmosphere.
On Blackwater Park, I would agree with that for the most part.
Yeah.
On other albums, I would say they're more riffy.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons Blackwater Park is unique. Like they
Yeah.
really committed to the atmosphere of the album more so than like the catchiness of the songs. Which is different because like an album like Still Life has hooks aplenty and riffs aplenty too. So does Deliverance. So they must have been itching to write some really great riffs after this.
Yeah. So we were talking earlier about like best live albums. How about the best bands that you've seen in concert? We might have touched on this subject before, but for those who didn't watch, let's just do it again. What are the best bands you've seen in concert?
Well, honestly, I've seen so many bands in concert that it's hard to make a list, but Blue Oyster Cult's up there. They were really amazing live, and they were like solo-rific. They went on jam sessions at the end of songs, and they played songs beautifully that they wrote in the 70s and 60s and shit like that. I think Blue Oyster Cult's first album was like 68, right?
72, something like that.
Was it 72? Okay, so 70s, not 60s.
Yeah.
But
Liar.
And Richie Castellano was a great fucking addition to the band, and he contributed so much to the show.
Yeah. Wasn't he on the
Buck
new
Dharma.
album?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
We didn't get to hear anything from the new album when we saw them, but...
Oh, yeah, it didn't come out yet.
No, they hadn't even released a single yet, but...
Yeah.
It was a fucking great show.
By the
other
time the album came out, we were all in quarantine and there weren't any live shows.
Yeah. That's pretty much true. Other examples... Gojira. Gojira's up there for sure. I fucking loved Gojira live. They put on such an amazing show. If you're a fan of the music, you're gonna... Oh, it's just so fucking... What what's the best way to describe it? You know what? What did that one lady tell you when you asked her, what is it like seeing Gojira live? It's like getting your head slammed on a table repeatedly, but in the best way imaginable.
Who said
That's
that?
great. It was some lady you asked at Sonic Temple.
Oh, yeah.
Ghost is another one.
Oh,
Ghost
yeah.
was
I would
amazing
say,
live.
yeah, I
Such
saw them at Sonic
showmanship.
Temple. They were pretty good.
Such showmanship.
Yeah.
Hailstorm, another example. Just like how amazing Lizzie's voice is, and she shows off
Yeah.
full force live. Really, it's awe-inspiring at times. Some smaller bands that I really liked live, Fever 333.
Oh, I might
Absolutely
actually have
insane.
to. I might have to put that up and pretty up there.
Architects, I personally enjoyed a lot live also. The Offspring. How could I forget about the Offspring?
Oh, yeah,
Weirdly
that's
enough,
true.
they are really good live. They are really, really good live. You would think that they wouldn't be, but
I would
they
say
are.
they were better earlier on, but by the time we saw them, I think they were all like a little bit older and didn't put on as good of a show.
I don't know. Like, I really enjoyed it. I saw them originally in, I think, 2016 at Rock Allegiance in New Jersey, I think it was at the time. And, like, they were just really amazing. So I was like, to Dad, we totally got to go see them again. So we booked tickets and brought Logan along, and I loved it. Like, when they took out the piano and played Gone Away, oh, that was so good.
I think
Mastodon.
Death did it better.
Yeah! Trigger me. No, but Mastodon is another really amazing
You saw
band.
them live?
I did. And you know what's funny about it? The reason why I put them up there so much, I didn't even like Mastodon back then. I had never really listened to anything by them, barely knew who they were, but I saw them live and they were just so memorable. To this day, I remember them, despite the fact I didn't know their music. Who else have I seen that was really good? Anthrax. I saw Anthrax.
I didn't know you saw Anthrax.
I did. I saw them back in 2016.
Oh, cool.
Alice in Chains. Another great example.
Yeah, but like all the good people in that band are dead.
Lane Staley's gone, but his replacement is not bad at all. Actually, like arguably better live.
I don't think Alice in Chains has put out anything good since 1994.
Yeah, but they played mostly old songs.
I guess, but like
also, I don't care what anyone fucking says. Avenged Sevenfold is a great live band.
Really? I could see that, but like
a lot of people are Avenged Sevenfold haters, and you know what? If you're not a huge fan of Avenged Sevenfold, fine. You wouldn't like them live. But if you are a fan, you're going to love it because they are huge on fan service. They're so huge on it. They bring people up on stage to play guitar for songs. They'll let little kids up to help sing. Like,
wow, yeah.
They are huge on fan service. There was one time we were at a show and like they just let us choose what song that they played.
Wow. I would say like, so a band that kind of did that, and if you know me, you know I don't particularly like this band, but they definitely put on a pretty good show. Foo Fighters with Dave Grohl.
That was a really good show. You know, another band I saw that was really great live that you wouldn't have expected, Steel Panther.
I remember, so my dad saw Judas Priest live a couple years ago. He's seen them live, I guess, a handful of times by now.
Right.
And I saw them live too, and they were amazing. But
we are now on the funeral portrait.
Steel Panther opened up for Judas Priest. And everybody was fucking pissed at Steel Panther because nobody knew who they were, and they were just like, like what was this band talking about? Like melting pussies and shit. Like, I need to listen to. I need to listen to some gayer music talking about like Island of Domination and, you know, Ram It Down, songs like that.
Yeah. I always
Rock
thought
Hard,
that
Ride
Steel
Free.
Panther was hilarious.
Yeah.
And live, they're like constantly bantering. It's like a stand-up comedy show almost.
I feel like that could be good. Um,
Korn. How could I forget
really?
Korn? I saw Korn live and they played the whole first album in its entirety, which is
Really?
a
I would
rare
not
show
have
to be at.
expected I would not have expected Korn to be good live.
I'd say they're at their best live. They're one of those
Really?
bands that's just like
You know, Korn had
uh
an unplugged album.
they did.
Yeah, and it's just I'm sure
That
it's
sounds
just as bad
terrible.
as it sounds. Yeah.
Listen, I like Korn. I'm a big fan of Korn, actually. I really enjoy the
Uh,
first album a lot. I think it's one of the best metal albums
I
ever
don't
made,
know.
actually. We're going to get to hear it for Rolling Drones, so look forward to that.
Ew.
It's actually pretty far down, though, I think. It's like at 20 something or 30 something.
Oof.
Um, the newer Korn album, I fucking loved. The Nothing. But even I gotta say, live, the studio versions are shit in comparison to them live. It's just a totally different thing. It's like, what did you say about Slipknot? Like, listening to them in studio is a waste. You need to go see them live because you get that whole experience of moshing and headbanging and all that.
Yeah.
Basically like that with Korn, I think.
Do you have any others that you can think of, or?
Not off the top of my head, honestly, but I've seen a lot of bands,
Yeah.
guys. Like, there are really not a lot. Oh, you know what? How could I forget this? Parkway Drive and Killswitch
Oh.
Engage. Like,
Yeah.
I don't
Didn't
know
we?
necessarily if those
Did I
bands
see
in
them? I can't
particular are amazing
remember.
live, but I went to a show with both of those bands and they were amazing. Yeah,
Did
you
I
did
see
see
them?
both of them.
Yeah.
You did see both of them.
Yeah.
You were like making
Um.
fun of Parkway Drive the whole time, and I wanted to kill
Oh.
you. Wanted to throw you in the pit.
Well, actually, if we're talking about bands like that, how can we forget like fucking Slipknot and Gojira?
Well, I mentioned Gojira already. I don't know if I would rank Slipknot up there with my favorite live
Oh,
shows.
come
As much
on.
as I enjoyed that show, I just don't know. I all
I
the other ones I
guess.
mentioned I liked better.
Yeah, we went to like a mini knot fest and it was
Gojira
Slipknot.
stole the show, in my opinion.
Yeah, it was Slipknot, obviously, Volbeat,
Headlining
Gojira, and some other band.
Behemoth. Sorry, not Bohemoth.
Behemoth. Aren't they the ones that sucked?
No, they were like the
Oh,
black metal
okay.
band.
Oh, okay.
But I believe they're considered like Blackened Death.
Hmm.
I really like them now, but I didn't know who the fuck they were then.
Okay. So the first real concert I was ever at, because I saw like some tribute bands and things like that as a kid. First real concert I ever went to was Alice Cooper, and it was phenomenal. I mean, Alice Cooper is a showman. You probably knew that if you've even heard a second of Alice Cooper's shit.
Yeah, no kidding.
But no, it was obviously an amazing concert. He still puts on a great show. Um a band that is really good live that maybe you might not expect is Styx.
Really? I thought they were the one that everybody said sucked.
I If people are saying that, I vehemently disagree.
Or maybe that was Def Leppard. I don't remember.
Maybe.
There was
I
a
could
show
see
I
that.
didn't go to with Styx, Def Leppard. Was Tesla there too? I think maybe.
It was Styx, Tesla, and Joan Jett and the Blackhearts. And
Well, I
all
thought
three
Def
of
Leppard was there.
I thought all three of them were pretty good. Yeah, because I
Maybe
went
I'm
to
thinking of a
the
different show.
because I coincidentally went to the same show as Tyler's parents.
You wanted me to come with you because I think whoever you were going to bring, that fell through, but I was like busy. I think I was working.
I think I was gonna go with my dad, but that didn't end up happening.
Yeah, and then I was working, so I couldn't go. You know what my biggest regret in life is? Logan
Yeah.
went to see Metallica at Penn State, and
Yeah.
I was in Florida, so I couldn't go. But I could have gone because somebody that he went to decided not to go, and he offered the ticket to me. So I could have gone, but I didn't because I was in Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah!
Sucks
It's a
to be
traumatic
Tyler. Anyway,
experience.
Metallica was just such an amazing band. No,
I'm
no,
so pissed off about it though because we were gonna
Yeah.
see them at Sonic Temple this year, and then that fell through, and then we were gonna go
Yeah.
to the one after Sonic Temple, and then that fell through, and now I just hate myself.
Yeah, no, I joke, but Metallica might actually be one of my favorite bands I've seen live.
What?
A lot of really cool pyrotechnics. You know, it's it's a good concert. It's also probably one of the most expensive concerts I've ever been
It's
to.
like
It was
$100 a ticket, right?
I might have even been more than that, but it's worth every penny.
I don't know, man. I spent about 60 some dollars on Ghost, and I got to be like, I was so close
Yeah.
to the front. So there was like one line of people, and then there was me and my dad, and I forget who else was with us. So we were like almost right at the front, and we got to see like, I don't remember how long it was. I think it was like an hour and some minutes of Ghost Live. I remember there was one point when the rhythm guitarist came over and the lead guitarist came over and they decided to start fighting, and then they had like a guitar battle. So the lead guitarist is over there shredding like, look how amazing I am. And then the rhythm guitarist just walks up and goes, starts playing Walk by Pantera. And the entire fucking place starts like, yeah! Fucking lead
Full story,
guitarist is
bro.
over there like, did you see how many notes I played? I'm telling you, rhythm guitarists have any lead guitarist beat because we can play the cool riffs.
Yeah.
All you can do is go. Go ahead, play Eruption. I got you beat with Walk by Pantera, bitch.
Oh no. Wait a second here. Van Halen was a band I was supposed to see live, but they canceled.
Oh no! I was supposed to see Linkin Park, but they canceled, and then Chester Bennington died like a year later. That
Yeah.
I know that hurts. That hurts
Yeah.
because think about, you could have seen Van Halen live with Eddie Van Halen.
Oh shit, that's true. I could have seen Eddie Van Halen. I was supposed. Honestly, though, like they canceled for a bullshit reason. It was like, oh, David Lee Roth has the flu or something like that. Like, fuck
We are
you.
now on Patterns in the Ivy. Not that it matters because this is like a short transition track, but
Yeah.
still got to
Yeah,
mention it.
it's just like, I
And
think
this
that's
is
code
a.
for he
I'm
just
sorry.
didn't want to play.
Maybe like Axl Rose shit.
Yeah.
So
I don't really feel like it.
this song is a transition into hands down my favorite song on the album, and I think we should pay some more close attention to it because it is like absolute brilliance in my opinion. And people say it's like one of the worst songs on the album because it's one of the least complex songs, but I say those people can get fucked. Complexity does not necessarily make the song better.
I have a question. Does it taste
I don't
good?
care about your preference. Yes, it does actually. It's very tasty.
So Mikkel
Very tasty.
Ackervelt's dick is tasty?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
And it's Michael,
sure.
by the way, apparently. I always thought it was Mikkel, but I was watching that video and he pronounces it Michael. The video of him talking about like fan covers. And he pronounces it Michael. So
Michael.
Whatever. Michael, that's my middle name. Michael.
Michael.
Michael. No, seriously though, indulge me. This song is fucking amazing.
This is really good, yeah.
Not this, the next song. This is the intro track. In fact, if you're willing, look up the lyrics to it because the lyrics to Blackwater Park are maybe my favorite part.
I'm probably not willing, but
I don't know, because you said your eyesight's getting worse, so I don't know if you can even read lyrics anymore.
I can, but I do have a doctor's appointment soon.
Yeah, the lyrics are really, really, really good on that song.
What are they yelling?
Oh, they're just cheering because they know what's coming. Blackwater Park is a fan favorite song for good reason. All right, we are now on Blackwater Park.
Yeah, I get it. You're an outcast.
So I'm going to jerk this song off and you're going to just be quiet.
I'm going to get some water while you do that.
Yeah, just go get like a beer or something.
Yeah.
Okay. So this song, wait. No. Don't leave. You need to hear this part. You can get a beer after this.
I don't want to get a beer. I want to be hydrated.
You want to be hydrated for this progressive rock.
Yeah, because I'm not
Metal,
hydrated
whatever.
right now.
You're not hydrated right now. So
Yeah.
are you like shaking or are you dizzy or?
No, I just like my
Oh,
mouth
well then
is
shut up
dry.
and listen to the music, bitch.
Okay.
No, honestly, we could pause it real quick if you need to.
No, we're not gonna do that.
All right.
We'll listen to this shitty ass song that apparently you
So this intro part is so fucking atmospheric. Like, just listen to it.
I do really like this riff. This is probably the best song riff I've heard so far.
Oh, just wait. I don't even want to talk over it because this intro is just so masterful. I'm just going to let everyone take this in. Listen to those lead lines, too. It's different every time. Fucking love that riff.
Yes.
I love the way they
I
lead
do,
into
too.
it by playing it clean first, too. This is the tastiest fucking riff the band has ever written, in my opinion. All right, go get your water, bitch.
I'm actually gonna keep listening to this. I'll just put myself on mute.
All right. And while you're gone, I'll talk a bit about the song. So, why is this song so special? Well, one of the reasons is, as you'll soon notice, that it likes to get really fucking heavy like it is right now, and then it does this. So, what it does is it fucking punches you in the face with its heaviness, and then it gets all nice and beautiful. It's all pretty. It's so pretty you could fall asleep. In fact, I frequently have to this part of the song because it's just so soothing. And then right when you're about to pass out, as you will soon hear, it punches you in the face again. It does not let you relax. It just keeps going from like really heavy to beautiful to heavy. And just, it's just so, it's just so good. If somebody were to ask me, like, what is your favorite progressive metal song ever made? Well, I would probably answer A Change of Seasons because that's a way better song than pretty much anything Opeth has ever written, at least in my opinion. Second place, probably Crystallized by Haken. But this would at least be in the top 5, if I'm being honest. And, you know, as much as I'll jerk off the composition, the instrumentals in this song, this part is just so pretty and soothing. The part before it is just like this tasty, heavy ass riff. The part we get after this is also a tasty, heavy ass riff. And then it goes through the whole song and we get this super fucking heavy outro. Gives you chills every time.
So
but the
I am
thing that I like
expecting...
most about this, before you go on, let me finish what I was saying. The thing I like most about this is the lyrics. So every song on the album had something to do with death in a more literal sense. There's somebody dying in almost every song. This song is actually a narrative about a village where sin, corruption, disease have taken over the village. And the narrator throughout the song is witnessing basically the village's demise as a result of those things. And as you can imagine, this is all a metaphor for how society works right now and has worked for a long time, where corruption and violence are rampant.
We live in a
And
society.
it's slowly destroying the world as we know it. It's all about the evils of the human race, which sounds like really pretentious unless you read the lyrics and realize how well written it really is.
Do we live in a society?
We live in a society, yes.
Oh, okay. Thank God.
You're welcome. I indulged your meme. Now listen to this fucking amazing song, bitch.
I don't even know where that meme came from.
Joker.
Oh, okay.
Like a bunch of cringy ass people on Facebook attached to the Joker from The Dark Knight, and was saying shit like, we live in a society that doesn't appreciate, so it became a meme.
Yeah, so sorry I stepped
Listen to
out,
the
guys. I
crowd
probably
cheering.
messed something a riff most tasty.
No, you heard it. I love that part with the crowd cheering. They know what's coming. And the band's like teasing them with it.
I love how you
This is one of
download
my
tea
all-time
like it's
favorite songs.
alcohol. Hey, I get. You know what? It's nice drinking water and not having the most pussy drink in the room.
Tea is better than water. Fuck you.
No, tea is what British people drink, and everything that British people drink is automatically pussy.
Well, British people drink water too, so
You know, according
your
to
argument
rumor.
falls apart.
According to rumor, we don't know that.
I've seen it. I met a British person once, and he drank water right in front of me.
You saw? Did you see it with your own two eyes?
I did. Yes, I did. He was visiting America and for some reason came to Anvil. We live in this like shitty ass town that you couldn't even point out on a map. And for some reason this British dude was sightseeing here. I guess he heard about how amazing the Allen Theater was and decided to come down to see it.
Fuck, really? The Allen Theater?
I don't fucking know. I don't fucking know.
Well, I had a friend who only spoke Spanish and went up to Anvil from Mexico.
Why? Did she have a friend here?
I think she had family here and she was trying to get her citizenship. I don't believe it ever actually happened.
Listen to this fucking riff.
But now that Biden's president, it might be easier for her to get citizenship. But
and then those amazing leads come up.
But yeah, I believe she had relatives here, so
Yes, this is Rachel.
Yeah, this is probably the only song on the album that I jerk off to this extent, so at least you don't have to look forward to me being excited again.
Yeah.
Yeah. Me being excited annoys him. He likes me to be miserable.
Well, that is until we play another Haken album.
Like we're ever gonna do that again.
I don't know. I mean, I think the one time we did a Haken album, it got some decent views. Actually, we were talking about like what videos we have that have like the best views. I'll actually.
Virus is one of them.
Yeah,
Vector
Virus is
not
one of them.
I think Vector's one of our worst shows, though.
Let me see.
I love this part of the song. This riff is fucking is all I can say about the song.
Where Luigi? The video that has the most views is Awake by Dream Theater with 91. And then with 58 is my getting into trip hop video on Bjork. Then it's The Symbol
Remains.
The Symbol Remains by Blue Oyster Cult with 52. And then by no, Vector and then Virus.
Really? I thought Vector was one of our least popular shows.
47 and 43 respectively.
I mean, maybe if Haken releases another album.
Yeah, I would like of the top 5, 3 of them are prog albums. So I think maybe we need to start doing that more.
To your dismay.
Yeah.
You wish they were all like SF Sorrow and
yeah, exactly.
I think the problem is like
now if we uploaded that Shags video, we'd get like considerabably more views, but it would just go down immediately.
So this is the outro of the song.
It would get like 1 million some views, something like that, in like the first 5 minutes, and then YouTube's algorithm would ban it because apparently beheading a goat is wrong.
Hell yeah.
And apparently having 49 different strippers is not advertiser friendly. But, you know.
Listen to that riff.
0 out of 10. Worst song ever. Just ignoring. He's just ignoring my truths, you know?
I'm ignoring your attempts to trigger me. That's what he's doing. He wants me to, like, argue. Black
this song's
water,
really...
Park. I can't scream.
Nah, this song really sucks, man.
One of the best things about this album is the last lyric on it is the sun sets over Blackwater Park. I love that.
Yeah. No, like, in all seriousness, the riffs are really good. I mean, like, I'm not a huge fan of, like, the death metal growls and things like that, but I can like, the riffs are so good that I can tolerate it.
Yeah, I think that's how most Opeth fans start. Like, they tolerate the death metal vocals, and then after listening to Opeth for so long, they start to love them.
Yeah.
That's how it happened for me. And that's how it happened for, like, a lot of people I talk to online, because I'm actually in, like, an Opeth subreddit, and weirdly enough, it's super active, so I'm in it all the time.
Yeah.
And I've heard a lot of people from that subreddit say that they've had that experience with the band. Like, they weren't into death metal at all until Opeth, and then they listen to Opeth, and the instrumentation is good enough, so they ignore the vocals, and then they get into the vocals. It's weird how Opeth is like some sort of gatefold.
At some point.
Yeah, but that was the full album in live form.
So we are now on disc 2 of this.
Yes, the first song on that is Forest of October, which is a song from the very first album, Orchid.
So there's only 4 songs on this disc. Is it just a short disc, or are the songs long as hell?
The songs are long as hell.
Okay. How long is this one?
This one's 17 minutes long.
Oh, okay.
Listen, early Opeth had so many long ass, like every single song on Morning Rise is like 18 minutes or something.
Well, this song is like, what was I gonna say? Like 17 minutes. That's about average, if not even a little bit short nowadays for prog. So that's fine.
I don't know if I'd say that, especially not if you're talking about a band like Gentle Giant or like Pink Floyd or.
I mean, Rush had
Dream Theater. Rush.
2112 was like the entire side of an album. It was
but like how often did they really do long songs like that?
I mean, they did it like
3 times,
maybe 3 times.
Exactly. Opeth does tend to write really long songs, though. Like, I'd say most of their songs are over 8 minutes, if not like around 10 minutes. And at first, that was something I had to get used to, but once you get used to it, it's not as big a deal.
You know what? I might actually trigger you by saying something that I'm totally serious about. This riff is better than anything in Blackwater Park.
I
Like,
mean, fair enough, it's still an Opeth song.
Like, it's not, like, I'm not saying the riffs are bad. On the contrary, they are very good. But this riff is excellent. I love it. It's like Iommi could have written this.
This sounds to me like dark Iron Maiden, because you've got like the harmonies with the 2 guitars in the right and left side. Anyway. This song gets really heavy, though. Especially like when that... Not this riff, but the next one. This is off the first album, which was basically black metal. The first 2 albums were much more like black metal than death metal.
Already the production is better than any black metal album.
Yeah, but if you go back and listen to that first album, well, it's still better than any black metal album, but it's pretty bad for Opeth.
Yeah.
Opeth's thing has always been like amazing production. That's one of the selling points of the band, in my opinion.
I mean, yeah, I would say that for sure. I mean, Steven Wilson produced one of the albums. Of course it's going to be good.
Yeah, like, see, this is straight mayhem.
Yeah, this is black metal right here. Okay, you know what? This is the best song on the album so far.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
That's surprising. I mean,
Well,
I
I mean,
am
I
aware that
am.
you like black metal a little bit more than death metal, but
Yeah. I am a little bit more of a black metal fan. I mean, what was that one band that I loved and you hated that we did on Rolling Drones?
I don't
I
remember.
think it was like Dark
There's a
Throne
fair
or
amount of
something.
those. I hated Dark Throne, but I don't think you really liked them either.
Oh,
I really liked Bathory. I've always loved Bathory.
oh, maybe that's what I'm thinking of. It's kind of like Bathory.
Yeah, but I always liked Bathory, so
Yeah,
that's
I
not
know, but
that
like,
couldn't be it.
yeah, I don't know. Maybe you didn't like it, or maybe you did like it. I don't remember, but yeah, like they kind of had like black metal had like kind of these almost surf rock riffs, and that's why I like death metal is, I think, so much more just like one, like a lot of these death metal bands, and
This is the riff that I really like off
yeah,
of this song.
me too. This is Metallica shit right here. Free.
Yeah, this is the part of the song that
Fact.
is like you can really hear where they would go in later albums
Yeah.
with the more death metal sound. Anyway, go on. Like to contribute, I think like black metal and thrash metal or death metal come from different sources. I already
Yeah,
spoiled
they
my
do.
argument. Death metal comes out of thrash metal. Black metal comes out of something completely different.
Punk, I would say more so.
Yeah, kind of like more extreme version.
Because like Venom,
It's
I
like
would
okay, but
say
like
is
thrash metal is basically just extreme punk. I'd say it's extreme
yeah,
punk in a different sort of style.
yeah. Like I would like
Less
Venom,
chugging
I
and
would
more like
say,
open riffs.
who I would say is like the first black metal artist. They clearly got their influence from like early British punk, like the Sex
Oh yeah.
Pistols, the Dead Boys.
Yeah,
They
but
just
even
took
Venom I would
that
say gets pretty
and put it on
thrashy at
bath salts.
times.
Yeah.
They're not really the type of black metal I think of when I say
Yeah.
like I'm thinking more of like Mayhem with like Freezing Moon
Yeah.
or something like that. You know what? After this show, I'm going to show you Freezing Moon by Mayhem. So I don't think
Okay.
you've ever listened to that song, but that's like definitive
Yeah.
black metal.
But my point is like a lot of these death metal bands, and I don't mean to offend anybody, but a lot of these death metal bands just to me feel like they're one trick ponies. Opeth is an exception, of course.
Yeah.
Opeth can do everything. But even good death metal bands like Death, I feel like I've heard every Death song. And I've only listened to
pretty
one,
much
maybe
have.
two albums.
There is like some nuance. Like the very first album is very straightforward death metal, but they start getting into technical death metal later and even like progressive elements with their
Yeah.
later albums. But like for the most part, you're right. I think death metal is more consistent than diverse.
Yeah, and that's
But
why
that's
I
true
like
of black metal too, though. Like
yeah,
at
but like
least
black
second
metal
wave.
has like black metal just has better riffs, I think. I don't like there's no death metal riff that I really liked.
Really? You loved a lot of the riffs on Morbid Angel.
Oh, maybe I did. I don't remember that. Well, if that's the case, then that's more of an exception. And again, I haven't listened to a lot of the genre, so if anybody in the comments section, if you're still watching, if anybody in the comments section knows of any good death metal bands, put them down below.
This part like is very Maiden. Again, it's like Dark Maiden.
I love how the analytics say like people give up after the first few minutes, and your solution is, well, let's make it longer.
I kind of just wanted to do a longer episode for me, honestly. It's just what I
Okay.
wanted to do.
Good for you, babe.
Yeah.
I'm probably going to counter that by doing the move. If not next video, then sometime in the future.
I thought we were doing the Move live album.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
But so how are you countering anything? Your album is almost as long as mine.
Or I'm sorry, not countering, but responding to that.
Yeah. Well, you know what? And that the other reason why I wanted to do like live albums is because you've been pushing for that one for so long. So I wanted to do it, but I wanted to do an album of similar length that I wanted to listen to. So I didn't want to do Iced Earth because of the reasons we mentioned earlier, but mainly because it's 3 hours long. That's such a long, like, even for us, that's a long video.
That's gotta be like their entire discography. Like, fuck.
It's pretty close. Like, they have a lot on that album. I'll tell you right now how long it is. Live in Athens. I'm sorry, it is Alive in Athens. I don't know why I thought it wasn't. Yeah, it's exactly 3 hours long. There are 31 songs on the album. 31. And none of them are intro or transition tracks. All of them are actual songs.
That's almost like 32 songs.
Yeah, almost. It's a little bit more than 30 songs, but not quite 32.
Well, at least it's not 30.
You remember that like Monty Python skit? It's not 32, not 33, not even 34 or 35, not 36, not 37, not 30. Get on with it! The fucking holy bomb.
We were talking about like the difference between American television and British television, and honestly, depending on the genre, I kind of prefer that sort of drier style of British TV. Like with game shows and reality TV especially, American TV is so dramatized that it gets annoying. Like,
yeah.
Like,
you know what a real offender is? You ever seen Kitchen Nightmares on American TV?
I don't watch cooking shows, but I'm sure
it shows something in the kitchen. It's like dun dun dun. I'm not even fucking with you. That's literally basically what it does sometimes. And in the British show, it's just like no music, straightforward. Listen, you can't have this in the kitchen. Meanwhile, in the American show, it's like, what the fuck is this? Gordon Ramsay's like freaking the fuck out.
I would say like compare like Shark Tank to Dragon's Den. Like Shark Tank, the announcer's always there. Like, the sharks have made an offer that they think the entrepreneur can't refuse. Like, I just saw what happened.
Yeah.
You didn't add anything to that. You didn't add anything. Just
Master Chef America is so insufferable with that shit.
Yeah.
It's so annoying. I literally cannot watch anything but like Master Chef UK or Canada.
Dun 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 music. Like,
yeah, it sucks.
Like, can you just like
what's going on? A transformer fighting another transformer, or a guy cooking a quiche?
What's going on? Is the Earth about to explode? Nah, just some rich assholes buying a soldering iron.
That, seriously.
Jacks off your penis. Like,
and the thing that pisses me off the most about it is it works. They do it for a reason. More people watch it because it's more dramatic.
That's our culture. And like, you know, same thing with like The Apprentice as well. We have our own version of The Apprentice, and we got it, I believe, from the British version of The Apprentice. We have we have Arnold Schwarzenegger. Before it was Donald Trump. That ended for obvious reasons.
You're fired.
And, yeah, you're fired, Trump. No, and
the you're fired guy got fired.
Yeah, and then the British version has Sir Alan Sugar, who created Amstrad computers.
His name is Alan Sugar.
Yes.
Well, I really hope he's not a sweet guy, because that'd be a really ironic name if he was a dick.
No, I mean, he kind of is, yeah. But he created Amstrad computers. They were, you know, actually, Alan Sugar and Donald Trump have something like really like. They both have something in common where like they were really successful in the 80s, went bankrupt in the 90s, and since then everybody has either hated them, been indifferent to them, or had some vague nostalgia of when they were good. So,
The solo is so good. I'm sorry. I'm just listening
Yeah.
to it because it's so fucking good. I've only heard this song a handful of times, so I'm not real familiar with it. I heard it once when I listened to Orchid the first time, and I didn't really like Orchid very much, so I didn't listen to it again or
I
anything.
like this song though.
Yeah, I don't remember this song from the debut. I actually, when I listened to this song on the live album, because before I had listened to a few off this, and this was one of the ones I was like, what's that? I had to look it up. And I was like, oh, right. I remember that song. It had the really cool riff in the beginning that they never brought back for some fucking reason.
Yeah.
I hate it when Opeth does that. They're like, oh, here's a badass riff. Okay, you're never going to hear it again. Fuck you. I wanted to hear it again. They do that in
Never.
Serenity Painted Death. Despite that being one of my favorite songs, that fucking amazing riff, like you only hear that for the first verse. It never comes back.
Sadie's
Why
behind
doesn't it
me.
come back? It's fucking amazing.
My dog is behind me.
Okay. Your dog is not as interesting as the Serenity Painted Death riff not coming back again.
Excuse me,
Fuck you.
but like Serenity Painted Death and Opeth suck, so you know.
Yeah, well, Sadie sucks. I would take Opeth over Sadie any day.
I would listen to Sadie barking and like licking his,
You take that back.
I
You
would
take
rather
that
listen.
back.
I would rather listen to the sweet, sensuous sounds of Sadie licking her ass.
You
as
take it
opposed
back.
To,
Take it back or I hang up.
as opposed to Opeth.
I'm gonna hang up, motherfucker.
Okay, no, I'll behave. I can't host the show on my own. I'm not allowed to. Mommy doesn't
Oh,
allow
we're
it.
finally gonna hear him talk.
Okay. Hi there.
Not too shabby. I love Swedish people. Did you hear the guy shouting in the background?
What did he say?
Say something!
You know, when I think of Sweden, I either think of Vine Sauce, like Joel from Vine Sauce, or the Swedish Chef, and he sounds like a combination of both of them. Oh, is that what this is for? Okay. Yeah.
He's usually pretty funny. Like, he tells a lot of, like, jokes and dry humor type stuff on stage in between songs. I'll have to send you something.
Yeah. Like, Michael Achterfeld's best moments.
Yeah.
Well, then say them. Fuck yeah! Death metal vocals.
Yeah.
Excuse me, we stand up. We stand up and pay our respects to Michael Achterfeld.
Fine culture, yeah. I think I'm a bit behind you.
I don't want to play that shit again. Something... They're yelling at him to play Blackwater Park again.
The
Lost Record.
Oh, so that's why he's doing it like this. He's going through their albums. Okay. I didn't know that. Oh, I get it. Yeah, they're playing one song from every album. So Orchid was Force of October, then Advent is Morning Rise, and then April Ethereal is My Arms Rehearse, and then Still Life.
So
and
so basically I'm gonna like this album more as it goes on.
Watershed. Yeah, so this is from Morning Rise, which is without a doubt their most proggy album. Like, it's just out there prog. There's one song on it that's like nearly 30 minutes long.
Well, thankfully, this one isn't it. It's like 16 minutes long.
Yeah, but that's like the average song length on that album.
Oh Christ,
Yeah.
it's good.
I mean, it's a good album, but I'll admit it might be a little bit too heavy-handed for even me.
Yeah.
I was listening. Okay, so I was telling him So I'll start from the beginning. So I was watching Mike Portnoy talk about his albums, and he was talking about Transatlantic and the Neil Morse Band and Spock's Beard and all of these projects that Neil Morse is involved in. So I went on Spotify and realized I can't listen to basically any of that because Neil Morse hates Spotify and he hates streaming services in general. For good reason. I mean, they pretty much fuck over the artists, and that's why. So what he did is he created his own streaming app where you have to pay like $7 a month for it, but all of the proceeds go directly to like his bands and it's not scummy in that way. So I was like, okay, I'll pay for it for a month or two so I get to listen to some of that music, hopefully all of it.
Proceeds go to his spans.
No, like him and the rest of the band members.
Oh,
So I got it, and
I
I
don't know. That
decided
does
to
sound.
listen to.
That does sound kind of scummy, though. It's like, oh well, like it.
Not when
It
you keep in
basically
mind the
sounds like-
state of like streaming apps.
It's basically
Artists
like,
get
oh,
like
we get
nothing.
well, they get like a few cents per song, which is normal.
Not even. It's like 0.000035 cents per stream.
Okay, well,
You
if you're
have
a
to
good
literally
band,
get-
that adds up.
Only if you're Drake. Like literally,
Okay.
you have to get millions of streams to make any money off of Spotify or anything like that. It's really bad. Bands basically make nothing, especially if you're a band like Spock's Beard, which only like prog people know, or like the Neil Morse Band or Transatlantic. Like that's obscure shit even for the metal world.
I know Taylor
So
Swift got Apple Music to like kind of pay a little bit more.
yeah, but not everybody's Taylor Swift. So
Yeah. Or I mean like pay their artists more, I think.
oh, I thought it was just her.
I don't know. It was a while since that story broke, but like whenever Apple Music launched, Taylor Swift was saying like she wasn't going to release her album until they started paying their artists more. And eventually she even just released it on Spotify, but Apple Music had the luxury
Really?
of
But Spotify is the worst one. They're the ones that pay their artists the least.
yeah, well I guess like the idea is like she wanted to like have
Force
like a
them to
delayed
lower it.
reaction. I don't know. But like Apple Music kind of had the luxury of releasing with Taylor Swift's then new album 1989. And then I think a few months to maybe a year later it released on Spotify.
Yeah, so the streaming service is called Waterfall, and like
Yeah.
I personally was okay with paying it because I think it's bullshit what streaming services pay their artists.
You would pay
And
$7.99 just to hear like one dude's music?
Yes.
Okay.
It's a lot of music. Like there's 4 albums from Transatlantic, there's like 7 from Neil Moore's band, a bunch from Spock's Beard. There's like
Okay, I don't know.
podcasts. Like there's
I
a
don't
lot
like
of
that.
content.
I don't know if I like that. I would just say like go Apple Music.
Well,
like
there's no
put your shit
alternative.
put your shit on Apple Music or something. I don't know.
There's
It's
no
better.
alternative. There's no
It's
alternative.
better.
Like he hates all of them, so there you can't find his music anywhere. Not
Okay,
Apple
well,
Music,
fuck
not
him then. His
Spotify,
music
not
probably
anything.
sucked anyway.
Considered some of the best. So
Okay, well,
I had to listen to it because I'm a prog fan, and you know, I had to give it a chance at least. So I was like, I was okay with it, but
okay.
I was listening to Transatlantic, and like the first song was like 31 minutes, and then the next
Yeah.
song was like 17 minutes, and it was like that the whole album. And then I went and listened to Spock's Beard, The Light, which is basically the same story. And by the end of those 2 albums, I'd been listening to nearly 3 hours of extremely complex progressive music, and my
Good for
brain
you.
literally hurt. Like, it literally hurt. I felt like I had just finished taking 3 hours worth of math tests or something.
Good for you. Cool
So,
story, bro.
dude, you suck when it comes to telling stories. You're the worst. No, but like I could not listen to any more prog after that. So I like put on thrash metal or something. I put on like Nevermore. Something like real straightforward and riffy so I could just let my mind rest.
Nevermore. I don't think I've ever heard of them.
You've listened to them a bit.
Well, I don't remember that. What? Did they do something I would recognize?
Probably not. I showed you a few songs by them when we were like playing random stuff.
Oh,
I told
maybe.
you they used to be a band called Sanctuary, which was like a really thrashy band from like the 80s, I think. And
Okay.
they had an album called Refuge Denied, which is considered like one of the best thrash albums ever made. And then after that, they like, I think one member left and they reformed as Nevermore because of label issues. But yeah, Nevermore actually does have quite a different sound from Sanctuary. It's not like as straight up kill 'em all, like thrashy as that album was, but they have their own sound. I'd say the best album by them is The Politics of Ecstasy, probably, if you wanted to ever listen to them. This Godless Endeavor is pretty good. I think a lot of people worship Dead Heart in a Dead World, but I don't think that album's as good as either of the other ones I mentioned. They didn't make a whole lot of albums because the lead singer died, unfortunately. I forget his name, but he's one of my favorites. Definitely top 10. Great singer.
Going back though to like him opening up his own streaming service, I disagree with that. And
Okay, but like if you
one,
disagree with that, then stop listening to streaming apps. Like you're just like a terrible person at that point. Like think about it. They're getting paid nothing. You should at least support them to some degree.
I support that they should get paid more. I just don't support this guy because I'm sure. I think there's one of three scenarios. One, it's a publicity stunt and he's going to put his shit on Spotify eventually anyway. Two, he's greedy. And three, his music sucks and nobody's listening to it. So that's why he's doing this.
Well, all three of those things are wrong. He just thinks artists should be paid more. And since they're not paid more, he made his own app where they are.
Okay, so he doesn't represent other artists, though. He represents himself. He thinks he personally
he does.
should get paid more.
It's all the bands he was involved in, produced, had any involvement in. So Transatlantic, he was one of the members.
If this wasn't this guy Morrissey and it was like Gene Simmons, you would understand my point.
Well, if it was Gene Simmons, I wouldn't believe it was coming from a genuine place. I would think he's just doing it for the money.
From a genuine place. I believe it is just coming from money. I believe he's either greedy,
I think you're wrong.
Or he isn't making a lot of money anyway because his music sucks.
Like, knowing Neil Morse, I do not believe he's doing it for the money. He's never been like that. He's always been a very genuine, down-to-earth guy, super, like, fan-friendly. He's just got his opinions.
I mean, maybe. I don't know. I just think this is a really stupid idea. And it's not going to work for him. He's going to end up making less money with this than he did with
He doesn't
Spotify.
care. He doesn't care.
Okay.
Like, barely anyone uses the app. He doesn't care. Like,
okay,
it's
well, then
just
I will
about
respectfully
principle,
then I will respectfully not listen to his shit, even if it does get on Spotify.
I mean, that's up to you, man. It's completely up to you, but it's just about principle. Like, how can you support Spotify paying artists that much money?
Because I like it and I don't care.
But you should care. You should
I'm
care
not an
because
artist.
if artists aren't paid a certain amount of money, they can't live, and if they can't live, they can't make music. So you'll never get another album again from anybody. They have to make
all
money.
the artists that I've never heard this argument from anybody apart from like a few choice artists.
That's because Spotify and those other streaming apps have a monopoly. You don't have a choice. Like, if you and me want to listen to music, we either go out and spend a shit ton of movie on CDs.
Not many people are complaining that they aren't getting paid enough. At least most of the
everybody's
good
complaining
artists.
about it.
Yeah.
Everybody's complaining about it. Like, if you read interviews, it's literally everybody from Rob Halford to newer guys to pop people to rap people. Everyone's complaining.
Yeah, and yet they're still putting out music. I mean, they could just
because
stop doing music.
Because what can they do? Like they're gonna stop doing music? That's their career.
I mean, Rob
Are you
Halford's
gonna
like
stop
70.
going to work because you
I mean,
disagree
Rob
with a
Halford's
policy
like
the manager
70.
has?
He's made a shit ton of money in album sales. He could just retire.
But that's not the point. Like the point is that artists are spending a
My
ton of
point
money
is
to
that I
go to
think
the
this is a bigger
studio and
deal.
make
I
music.
don't think this is as big of a deal as artists are making it out to be. Because
Okay.
if it was this
Counterpoint.
big of a deal, then
Okay.
music would not nearly be
Let me talk
as
for a
big
minute.
of a thing as it is.
Avenged Sevenfold made no money the last time that they toured. Literally, they made no profit because all of the money from touring and merch sales had to go to their staff, to the people who tour with them, to gear, to, you know, all of these things, gas. They made almost no money. I'm sorry, did I say Avenged Sevenfold? I meant Ghost.
Oh. Well, yeah, they have like really elaborate shows. That's kind of their thing.
Right, but that's wrong. That is just wrong. They should be making money, but Spotify doesn't contribute anything, and neither does Apple or anyone else, unless you are
They don't
literally
contribute.
Drake.
Yeah, they don't contribute.
And you get billions of streams.
Yeah, they
you
don't
make
contribute
no money
to
off
live
of it.
shows. That's not their field.
No. I'm talking contributing money, like actual money to an artist's revenue stream. Unless you are literally Drake and you get billions of streams on every song, you make nothing off of these streaming apps. So people are basically listening to their songs for free. They have to go in the studio and spend thousands upon thousands of dollars, hundreds of hours writing an album, recording an album, getting the studio time, the producer,
So why are
all
they
of
still
that.
doing it then?
And they make no money off of it aside from touring. Why are they still doing it? Because it's what they love. They like to make music, but that doesn't mean it's right to fucking rob them.
Well, if they feel like they're being robbed, then they should just stop making music.
Or the policy that is robbing them should be changed.
Okay, but it's not going to be, so...
It would be. It's already been changed slightly by Trump.
It would be if they stopped putting out music.
But they can't do that, because if they did that, they wouldn't have money, and they would have to go to a different career path.
Well, they're not making money anyway, so I see no difference.
Well, they are making money from touring and stuff. That's how they stay afloat.
Okay, fine, then tour. Just don't put out new albums.
That's why a lot of bands don't put out new albums. That's why we haven't gotten a new album from a lot of bands in a long time, because it's not profitable. Blue Oyster Cult put out an interview. We wanted to make albums a ton of times throughout the years since our last, but at no point did it make any sense. It actually costs more to make an album and put it out than it does to just tour. And that's why a lot of bands, most bands these days, I would say, just tour.
The song is over, by the way. We're only on the second song on this disc, dude. This is like so long.
Yeah, that song is ridiculously long, but it is a good song.
Yeah.
We are now on...
Well, he's still talking now.
Oh, yeah. Next is going to be April Ethereal, though.
Okay.
That's from My Arms Your Hearse, which is like the first album that really starts the Opeth sound as we know it from Still Life, Blackwater Park, and whatever.
You shut up now because God Messiah Michael Attrafelt is talking.
Ah.
Good for you. We've reached the third record. Like, they know how pretentious this shit is.
Mendez, I believe, was the drummer on the earlier albums.
Wait, were they saying they got tired of making the songs long as shit?
Yeah, pretty much.
Good.
Yeah, I only have so much patience for like 17-minute songs.
Yeah. Okay,
One an album is enough for me.
Okay, this is like 10 minutes, so this is shorter.
Like I said, this is more like Opeth's normal sound.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, like that's why bands don't put out albums as much anymore. Like aside from newer bands, because what are newer bands going to tour off of? One album?
I guess.
You can't make a career out of that. So Yeah, it really sucks. It's just
I think more
such
so,
a bad
I
situation
think
in
more
music these
so
days.
a lot of these bands don't put out new albums because they don't need to, because a lot of these bands are super rich.
Well, you might be right, but a lot of these bands have literally said that's why they don't put out new albums.
Like, I think it was like Iron Maiden was like, and this was like early 2000s. They were like, oh, well, you basically are just like making most of your money off of merch, and you guys could basically retire now in the year 2000. They were like, oh, so we can basically just sit on our asses, get royalties from our back catalog and do nothing. Yeah, basically. All right, then let's make the best fucking album we've ever made.
That might have been true in the 2000s, but it's not true now. It hasn't been true for at least 5 years. You get nothing from these royalties.
That's what I'm saying. Is like a lot of these bands, at least a lot of these older bands, don't put out new albums because they made it big like 20 years ago, and they don't need to do.
But that's what I'm telling you. Like, I've read a lot of interviews from these older bands, and they have all said it's because of Spotify's practices. Spotify and these other streaming services. We don't put out new albums because it's not profitable. It's better for us to just tour on our older material. Which, fair enough. That's the world we live in now, but
yeah,
it does suck.
How the fuck are they making money now, though? Or are they just not?
They're not.
Okay.
I mean, a lot of bands have like started doing more merch stuff, like vinyl reissues, like online concerts. They're finding ways, but
okay,
it does suck for most bands. Especially if you're a smaller band and you made all your money on gigging. This really sucks for you.
Yeah.
I know there are a lot of bands who had to just straight up call it quits for the time being and go get like a part-time job.
Yeah.
Something because of it. It's really something that sucks because I feel like back in the 70s or something, it wasn't cheap to make a record, but it was doable. People who didn't have a ton of money were able to do it. Nowadays,
nowadays it's easier because you don't even need a major record label to fund it.
Not if you want a quality sounding album. If you want to do it yourself, it's probably going to sound like shit in comparison to like a professionally produced, recorded, engineered album.
I mean, I don't know. My brother just did it with like a copy of Winamp and
I'm sure it'll sound substantially worse than most professional mixes and masters.
I don't know. It sounds
usually
decent
does.
to me. A lot of like good stereo panning and shit. Like, here's the thing: is like making music is so much easier now than it ever was. It's just making like music that people will buy. You need to go to a major record label and they fuck you over.
Well, yeah. Nowadays, record labels mostly help with marketing and funding, studio time, but like what it comes down to is if you do it on your own, you have to know what you're doing, and maybe your brother does, but. Like someone like me, even if I spent the next 2 years learning how to produce, that is one part. Though, I have to learn to engineer and master. I
would say at this point, though, it's easier to learn what you're doing than have to deal with the record label as a middleman.
Sure, to some people, but I think that's why so many people produce their own albums these days.
Shit, how much SoundCloud rap is there out there from like people who don't have a fucking dime to their name?
Yeah, but again, like when you do it on your own, most of the time you sacrifice quality.
I mean, yeah, in like songwriting and things like that, but then you have people like fucking Juice WRLD who just like got big off of TikTok out of pure random.
Yeah, but he had a producer. Like, you don't see many people make it off of self-produced albums, at least not in the beginning.
I mean, nowadays, I think you are.
Name one. Name one mainstream rock or metal band whose first album was self-produced.
Yeah, that's because that's a niche genre. I'm talking about pop, like this kind of shit.
Rock or metal is not a niche genre. That's the biggest genre outside of pop. And some would argue it's bigger than pop because it has more consistency. More people listen to Led Zeppelin consistently over the years than any other artist.
Well, yeah, because they've been around consistently for many years, and Billie Eilish, hasn't.
Well, that's true of most rock bands. Like, more people listen to Iron Maiden, Metallica, Judas Priest, Led Zeppelin, all of those bands, because rock is timeless. Pop is not. Pop is a trend.
Well, yeah, it remains to be seen if it'll be It remains to be seen if it'll be timeless. Like,
There are almost no pop albums that are actually timeless. You could argue like Michael Jackson,
Michael
the
Jackson, Phil
Beatles.
Collins, Prince.
Can you argue? Can you really argue Phil Collins? How many people listen to Phil Collins still?
I don't know, people from the 80s.
Okay, people from the 80s also listen to obscure shit from the 80s. That doesn't make it popular. But like most people don't really listen to Phil Collins anymore, I would say.
Okay, but like, yeah, like Michael Jackson, Prince, the Beatles. I mean, like,
Prince, yeah.
Fleetwood
But those
Mac.
are how many bands did you just like mention? I can mention more rock bands off the top of my head that have more long-standing popularity.
And the reason, but like the reason that those bands stood the test of time is because back then rock was pop.
No, it was pop in the 80s.
Exactly, in the 80s
with
and
hair
the 70s.
metal.
Yeah.
With hair metal.
Yeah, like
I didn't mention one hair metal band.
You were talking about like Iron Maiden and Judas Priest and shit like that.
Those aren't hair metal bands.
I mean, take a look at Rob Halford's hair in the 80s. He wasn't bald back then.
Okay, but the music was not glamour hair.
Have you heard Turbo? I mean...
Turbo was like released in the 90s, wasn't it?
80s.
Was it 80s? Really?
Yeah, 86.
I thought late 80s was like Painkiller.
That was like early 90s.
Really? Okay,
yeah.
Well...
No, but not even that. Like, Screaming for Vengeance...
Still, Turbo's like one of the least liked Judas Priest albums.
No,
even at the
like
time, it wasn't liked.
Like, even like Screaming for Vengeance, Free Will...
That's not a hair metal song.
I can't remember the name of the album.
That was Defenders of the Faith.
Defenders of the Faith. Those are like super glammy.
No.
I mean, like Rob Halford was just like a diva, basically.
Well, yeah, but like hair metal has a sound, like thrash metal or whatever, and it just doesn't.
It has a
sound like that.
That's, like, yeah, hair metal.
Like, are you really gonna sit here and say that Free Will Burning sounds like Motley Crue or like Poison?
Yeah, but like Motley Crue and Poison sound totally different. So like, there's
not really.
There's facets to the hair metal sound. You have...
Well, yeah, I mean, Slayer and Metallica sound totally different, but you could still thrash metal.
Like, back in the day, like, hair metal is such a fucking useless term, and I think most people agree with me on that.
I mean, like, it is. It basically just encompasses what was popular rock and metal in the 80s, but...
Yeah, exactly, and Judas Priest, Iron Maiden, Metallica...
I don't think those bands would count,
hugely popular in the 80s.
But I don't think anybody would agree that they could be considered a hair metal band.
I think most people just label hair metal as metal from the 80s.
Well, I think it has to do with your image, and it has to do with your lyrics. Like, are you talking about pussy all the time and drugs? And it has to do with, like, also just, like, the sound as well. I don't think Halford's voice is very similar to most hair metal singers, nor is his cadences or his screams.
Like, what
the riffs are even too thrashy and like speed metal even than most hair metal songs.
Again, I don't think there's really a specific sound that encompasses hair metal. I mean, there is to some degree.
There is, yeah, to some degree, and Judas Priest does not fall into it at all.
Like, I would compare Judas Priest to something like Rat. They're both like heavy, well, not heavy metal, like not like Death or something like that, but they are heavy pop metal, both of them.
I don't really think Rat and Judas Priest are very comparable at all.
You have this hate boner for Rat. You need to listen to Rat again with an open mind and listen to how heavy they are.
I've heard Rat on like the radio and such, and I don't know, I just don't hear Priest.
You've heard like maybe Round and Round. Like, listen to like Lay It Down. What's the song? You're in Love, I think it is.
I don't know. I've heard a few Rat songs on the radio. I just don't really... It just sounds like hair metal.
I don't know. Again, like, I think a lot of that 80s shit just has a similar sound because it has similar production. Like, I would not compare Judas Priest to Poison, but I might compare them to something like Dokken or Rat.
I don't know. Even I think that's like apples and oranges. Or oranges.
Origins. No, no, my God. You know what that reminds me of? That reminds me of like when Donald Trump was talking about the oranges of the investigation.
Oh my God.
Instead of origins. So what song is this now?
We are now on The More, which is the opening track of
This is the reason
Still Life.
I am listening to this album, apparently.
I love this song, and what
Yeah.
can I say? I like it live too.
Yeah.
I mean, Still Life is just a perfect album from front to back. Well, I'm not huge on Moonlight Vertigo, but it's still a really great song.
Yeah. We basically talked over the entire... We basically argued over the entirety of the last song, so I don't even know if it's good or not.
The last song was My Arms, Your Hearse. That's the album it was off of, and that's a concept album. Okay. I mean, so is this, but this is the first song, so it kind of makes more sense. The last one was April Ethereal, which I think... No, you know what? Maybe that was the first song, too. Let me look. I don't remember. I'm, like, stopping mid-sentence because I don't remember. Oh, yeah, that was the first song. Never mind. Fuck you. My Arms, Your Hearse is a concept album. It's about a guy who died, and he was a ghost, so he went and tried to be with his wife, but his wife was with some other guy, and he as a ghost was, like, trying to get over that. It's a pretty interesting story, but not my favorite. It's got a really good song on it, though, Demon of the Fall. That song's fucking awesome. Again, why didn't they play Demon of the Fall? Why did they play April Ethereal? That's not even, like, one of the best songs on the album. When is better. Karma is better. I mean, yeah, whatever.
Karma, more like Carmageddon.
That's the thing that annoys me about a lot of live albums. Like, I feel like a band either plays too many hits, like they're only focused on playing the popular songs, or they play too many obscure songs that you're like, well, why didn't you play that?
I think like Black Sabbath throughout their entire career had like the perfect balance. Like,
I agree, but they only had one true live album, right?
They had a couple. They had Live at Last, which was that was just a bootleg, but it was
exactly.
It was like an officially released bootleg. And then you had the one from Dia, which was a legitimate live album, I think. Then you had Cross Purposes Live. Huh?
Live Evil, you're thinking of.
Live Evil, yeah.
And then The End.
The End, the reunion
That's
one.
my favorite.
Yeah, that's my favorite. I would say of all of those albums, I might actually have to say Live at Last. Even though that's the bootleg one, like, I think it's the one where, like, it's Ozzy in his prime, and he, like, knew how to hype a crowd, and still does, don't get me wrong. But, like...
Yeah, but I think The End had the best track list.
Yeah, they did. Like, I'm looking at it right now. Okay, so you had Black Sabbath, popular song.
Yeah.
Fairies Wear Boots, pretty popular song, I guess.
Not as, though. That's like one of the less popular songs off Paranoid.
Under the Sun and Every Day Comes? I don't even know that one. Huh?
I don't remember what song or what album that's off of, but
yeah.
I know they have a Technical Ecstasy song later in the album.
Yeah,
Dirty Woman.
After Forever, yeah, not like
that's Master of Reality.
Yeah. Into the Void, good one.
That's a big one. Snowblind, of course, big one.
Fairly big.
Then they introduced the band. Then War Pigs.
War Pigs, that's probably one of their biggest songs. Behind the Walls of Sleep, that's
a bit more obscure.
Big. NIB is pretty big.
Hand of Doom.
Hand of Doom is moderately big.
And then they did like a medley.
Sabbath.
They did like a medley with Supernaut, Sabbath Bloody Sabbath, and Megalomania.
Rat Salad is fairly big. Iron Man is probably their biggest one. Dirty Woman, that's the one from Technical Ecstasy. Children of the Grave, and then Paranoid. So it's like a good mix of like obscure and big. I think that's like the perfect set list.
Yeah, I agree. That's why I like it so much. Yeah. Live at Last, is that even on Spotify? I don't see it.
It's not on Spotify. I have it like on my iTunes. I think somewhere. I would have to look up the track listing on the internet, but it's basically like all the best songs up to volume 4, I think. Because I think that's around the time it was recorded. And then they released it a couple years later. They released it, I believe, in between Technical Ecstasy and Never Say Die.
Yeah, so I'm kind of sorry, go on.
Like, they had, like, Snowblind, Children of the Grave, Paranoid, songs like that.
Yeah, but they also had the more obscure songs, too, right?
Yeah, to some yeah, I think to some degree.
I think most of the Sabbath albums are pretty good that way.
Yeah.
Anyway, I wanted to let you finish before we moved on, but I want to say the album's almost over.
Beyonce had one of the best videos of all time.
We have Wreath, Hope Leaves, Harlequin Forest, and Lotus Eater. Obviously, it's Opeth, so those are like 10-minute songs, but there's only like a few songs left. So,
yeah.
So what do you think? Do you think this is a band that you'd like to explore further, like listen to more albums by, try to get into, or are you not sold on them?
I would like to try to get into them. I wouldn't say that I am into them yet. But
has this band has this album convinced you to go back? Like, does it give you the urge? I want to listen to
I do want to
Morning Rise or like Blackwater Park or
I want to listen to the studio version of Blackwater Park at some point. Just for the like the Steven Wilson mix. I want to hear that through headphones.
He also did Damnation and Deliverance, I believe. I believe those were the last albums he was involved in.
In that case, I might check out Damnation because I feel, or Deliverance rather, because I feel like that's more of a style I could get into.
That's the harder one.
Oh,
Damnation is the lighter one. Okay. Yeah, he did produce it. That's what I thought.
Okay.
Yeah, so I feel like if you liked some of the like heavier stuff on this album, you probably could get into albums like Blackwater Park or like My Arms Are Hers.
The heavier stuff off of this album I didn't like as much. I just tolerated it because I knew like some of the softer, more dynamic stuff was coming soon.
Gotcha. Then yeah, you'll probably be a bit of a fan of Damnation. That's some people's favorite Opeth album. I mean, I really don't think there's one truly bad Opeth album. I think they're all pretty good, but they all do different things. Like the original album, Orchid, has the black metal thing going on. Morning Rise is their most progressive album, of course. My Arms Are Hers is probably their most like straightforward metal album.
You know how remember how like eons ago we were talking about like my favorite live concerts?
Yeah.
We never finished that conversation.
We didn't? I thought we did.
Well, I didn't. There's a couple more I would rep. So I said like Alice Cooper, Metallica. I
think you also said Megadeth. I don't remember.
Well, Megadeth wasn't even. They just opened for the Scorpions.
Yeah.
Neither
but you said you really like The Threat Is Real, and that was when we were talking about Megadeth. Never mind,
I liked that song they played it live. I mean, like Megadeth, like contrary to what popular belief is, Dave Mustaine came off as a pretty cool, down to earth guy. He might not be.
I've always heard he's an asshole live.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't get that impression from the one time I saw him. I could totally be wrong. Maybe I just caught a really good show. I don't know, but
yeah, he was in a good mood.
Yeah, maybe he was just in a good mood. He seemed like he was like cracking jokes and just seemed like he was having a good time. Like,
there you go. I mean, I'm not like a Dave Mustaine hater. I think a lot of people in the rock and metal world are assholes, so I don't really look down on anyone for being a dick. Except for Axl Rose. I fucking hate him because I think the line is when you start to fuck over the fans and you don't care. Like when you buy concert tickets and then the band just doesn't show up because Axl Rose just doesn't feel like playing that night. And they don't even come up with an excuse. They're just like, fuck you.
I mean, have you heard about the Montreal riots?
Yeah, they literally caused a riot once because like Axl Rose just walked off stage. Like he did that shit all the time.
Because like they didn't want to be upstaged by Metallica because Metallica was like
bigger.
Like the fucking it was because like James Hetfield or whatever the fuck, I think it was. James Hetfield literally burned himself on a pyro accident. He was like, "Oh, he's upstaging me." Like, fuck you.
Yeah, that's the line I cross. Like, you know what? If you're an asshole in real life, but you're like fan friendly, I like you. But if you're an asshole to fans, no.
Bruce Dickinson is the same way.
What, an asshole to fans?
Yeah.
Really? I never heard that.
Oh, totally. He's just
I heard he was a dick, but
he's a Dickinson, in fact.
Yeah.
So are we on the third album now?
That was the fourth.
Or the
That was still
third,
life.
I mean the third disc.
We've been on it.
Oh, okay.
Oh fuck! Dropped my phone.
Good for you.
Yeah. Yeah,
What
we've
are some
been on
other
it
ones?
since. Or wait, no, we're not on the third disc yet.
Okay.
I lied. I'm a dirty liar.
Good for you.
Burn me at the stake.
Burn me and eat steak. Okay,
And
this guy
again,
talking, like honestly, this guy talking is getting kind of annoying. It's not like he's really saying much of anything entertaining. He's just rambling. Well, then again, who
I mean,
the fuck am
honestly,
to
I
judge,
can't
but-
really hear it that well.
Yeah.
I can't really hear what he's saying that well. I don't know. I like it when he talks because it's like, well, it's charming, it's funny, and then it leads into the music most of the time.
I don't
But
know.
I don't know what he's saying, so
I prefer bands that don't do that, or like they'll like maybe hype up the crowd a little bit and do it in moderation. This guy just has like this deadpan like, and
he has a more like dry
bittersweet,
sense of
I
humor.
guess.
He has a more like dry sense of humor.
I mean, so do I.
He'll,
But
like-
if I was a concert, I'd be like, "Are you ready to rock?" Like,
Yeah, but that's not his style. Like he talks with a more like straightforward cadence. He's like, I'm gonna go home and sniff crack and suck my dick.
yeah.
And he'll just do it. He'll say shit like that with a completely straight
Like,
face.
I think Ghost kind of did that exact same thing, but they're better at it.
I disagree. I think Ghost is funny, but I think Ackerfeld's funnier based on what I've heard. Although, again, I can't really hear him. He's really quiet in the mix.
Yeah.
I wish they kind of would have just cut that out, honestly.
Yeah. I can easily tell you the worst band I ever saw live. Or worst
Godsmack for
artist.
me. Or no, Limp Bizkit. Hands down for
Oh,
me.
you saw Limp Bizkit. Who did they open for?
No, they were at a festival. They were actually the headliner, the last band.
No.
And the thing that was terrible is like after every not even every song, they were hyping up the crowd so much they would do like a verse and then hype the crowd for like 2 minutes. Are you ready to hear the chorus? Are you ready? And then they would play the chorus and then they would hype the crowd again. Like, you want to hear the verse? I was like,
That
just
is
play
like-
the fucking song.
That is like the same shit Kiss does. Like, are you ready to rock? Like, yeah, we were 5 songs ago. Just rock for us.
So again, questionable track choice. I don't really understand why
What
they've
song is
chosen
this?
Wreath. This is Wreath from Deliverance.
Okay.
Why didn't you play Master's Apprentices? Why didn't you play Deliverance? Why didn't you play literally any other song? I don't get it. I guess they
Yeah,
just
I
really
don't-
like this song.
I don't particularly love this song.
Me neither,
Yeah.
honestly. Like
Yeah.
Deliverance is probably my least favorite Opeth album other than Orchid because there's moments like songs like these that I just don't like very much. Although I will say pretty impressive death growls from Ackerfeld on this song. I feel like by this time in their career, I was going to mention this earlier, but we got to talking about different things. Ackerfeld's screams kind of like, I don't want to say he destroyed them, like they're bad now or anything. Obviously, they're not. Listen,
Yeah, this
they're
is
pretty good
this
screams,
sounds to me like normal death metal screaming.
but I would say normally Ackerfeld is way better than most death metal
Mm.
screaming, but or Ackerfeld's screams are.
It sounds all
But-
the same to me. That's another thing is like every death metal band sounds like Cookie Monster. Every single one, even Opeth. Whereas black metal
No.
has so much more variety.
No, they don't. You just need to like listen with more attention to detail. Once you hear like enough of it, you start to notice like what is it like? It's like coffee. You know, everybody thinks all black coffee tastes the same, but it does not. It does not at all.
It
And
all
if
tastes
you
like
get like
piss,
more of
exactly.
a taste for it, then you'll be able to tell there's a difference between Colombian versus like anything else. You know?
Un producto el Colombia.
Well, my point is that all the bands that you're probably thinking sound the same, like Morbid Angel, Death, Opeth, they all have drastically different styles of screaming. but
Well,
you're
Death
not
is a
as
little
well
bit
versed in
different
it.
because
So
it's like Death, I think, was more of a punk, was trying to be more of a punk band and inadvertently created their own genre.
maybe, but anyway, what I was gonna say about this song, or about his vocals, like he eased off on the death metal growls at some point in his career for a few reasons. One of the reasons was he was kind of bored of the death metal genre. He said like he was trying to write another death metal album, but like it just was shit, basically. He couldn't write anything good. So he was like, well, fuck it. I won't write death metal anymore. I'm going to write something like 70s prog. And that's what he did. And like it or don't. But
I
I
will
think
need to
one
listen
of
to
the big
Damnation or
reasons
something then.
I think one of the big reasons why he did that, though, irregardless of that, is his screams just aren't as good anymore. Like, again, I don't want to say they're shot, but they're definitively not as good as they were in like the 90s
Is Hope
or
Leaves, is that
80s.
off of Damnation?
Yes.
Okay. And then what are the other two songs? The two
I've
albums
played a
after?
game. I've played a song from Damnation for you before. It was called Window Pane.
Okay.
You said it was like very Floydian.
Oh yeah, probably.
Yeah. Anyway, so he actually said at one point in this concert, "Oh, we're doing death metal growls again. Isn't that awesome?" Well, that's because Opeth doesn't really do death metal songs live anymore. If you look at their set list, it's almost all like new, clean stuff. And again, I think one of the reasons for that, he doesn't do the growls as well anymore. So, anyway, I just thought that was an interesting thing to mention.
I mean, could you even really notice though? Because like the actual,
I could.
Well, like, oh, okay, yeah, you can notice now, but like this is a mixed thing. It's mixed really well. If you go to the concert, it's not going to have this level of acoustics. It's all going to sound tinny and distorted and terrible.
I mean,
And they're
I
gonna
have
be, like-
heard that Opeth concerts sound really well. So really good anyway.
Really?
Yeah. That's what I've heard.
I don't think I've ever really been to a concert that's had good acoustics. And that's not really the fault of the bands, I don't think. It's a fault of the venues, but
Yeah. I mean, that's just a staple of live shows. It's not going to sound as good sound quality wise.
Yeah.
It's just not. But anyway, back to what we were saying about live shows. I think you can hype the crowd. You can talk as long as you're funny, as long as you're entertaining. But if you're not, and if all you're doing is hyping the crowd, you need to do it in moderation. Like you can, like you said, you can only go, "Are you ready to rock?" so many times before people go, "Yeah, we were ready to rock 2 minutes ago, buddy."
We were ready to rock 5 songs ago when you were playing Detroit Rock City. Like,
yeah, like you can only do that so many times. Godsmack was another instance of that. Like they were stopping music all the time to like hype up the crowd and talk about songs, and like I like that they do that, but they need to do it less.
Ozzy, I guess, was maybe a little bit weaker live, but I think that one was.
He didn't talk like at all. Like every now and then he'd go like, "Let's go,"
that,
and that's it.
I was talking about like quality. I'm talking about like he's just old as fuck, so it's understand. And so is Bob Dylan.
I mean,
too,
honestly, like
Bob
I
Dylan
didn't have a
should've
huge
just
issue with
quit.
Ozzy live.
Like honestly, like I have to wonder, like with Bob Dylan, at least, I wonder if like somebody was embezzling money from him or something, because he should have just retired 30 years ago.
Yeah, probably. I mean, I liked the new album. It made it on my top 20 albums of the year.
Yeah, like, okay, maybe occasionally do some shit in the studio. That's fine. But, like, he should not be singing Ballad of a Thin Man in the year 2021. He shouldn't have been doing it in 2017 whenever I saw him. It was so boring. I was with my first girlfriend at the time. She literally fell asleep during the concert.
So just like a little update, I am liking this song a lot better live than I did in the studio. I think it brings like a certain intensity the studio version didn't. So I kind of like that, but
can I have a controversial opinion? Because like I know it's rare for me to have a controversial opinion, but I might have to.
Okay, go on.
Like music at concerts, the audio does not need to be so fucking loud. at rock concerts especially.
Well,
Look,
you know,
here's the
at Blue
thing.
Oyster Cult, the audio was so low compared to more like the headphones you have in right now listening to the music. That's probably about the volume of that Blue Oyster Cult concert. I'm
Like,
not even joking. It was
like, okay,
not
yeah,
loud at
like it
all.
needs to be louder. Like, okay, it needs to be louder than the audience. That's understandable. Because then you get like the fucking Beatles of Ed Sullivan, where the crowd is cheering so loud you can't hear the band.
Yeah.
But like, it doesn't need to like. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of like SpongeBob, where Squidward's like, if we play loud, people might think we're good. That's like the mentality I think they have. Like, you don't need, your music is good. You don't need to be loud and like blow everybody's eardrums off. And like, yeah, I get like, yeah, metalheads want their music to be loud. I want my music to sound good. And when you have music sounds loud, it blows out the equipment and the venues just aren't equipped to deal with that loud music.
That is true for some venues, but I think some venues you have to have it ridiculously loud or the people in the back can't hear it.
I mean,
that's true of like Sonic Temple. That's why everything was so loud at Sonic Temple.
Yeah, but like most of the time I was in the back. Like
no, you weren't.
I'm not like,
most of the time we were close to the front. We were only in the back a few
Sonic
times.
Temple, but like most concerts I've been to, like I'm not rich. I can't afford $500 to get front row seats.
Oh yeah.
If I'm gonna like get a concert, I'll buy the cheap $60 ones.
It's funny, like most concerts I've been to, $15-20. But that's because the venues are stand-up venues. There are no seats. Yeah. So first come, first serve. Like, you get as close to the stage as you can.
Yeah, exactly. So like, but like I saw Judas Priest. I could hear them just fine in the back.
Yeah, I feel like that wasn't a very loud show either, though. That was pretty normalized volume.
It could have been quieter if you would have made it quieter.
Oh, I don't think it could have been quieter.
You could have made it quieter, EQ'd the sound a bit, given it some more bass maybe, and made it have a more rich sound as opposed to a louder sound.
I mean, it was EQ'd. Like, you could tell it was mixed to some degree, or mastered, I mean.
Like, I don't know, even that show I thought sounded a little bit too harsh. And again, that's probably not,
I mean, that's just live. Fault. That's just what it is to see a band live, because you don't get the full mixing of like a studio album live.
Yeah, but you could at least like mess with the bass, mess with the volume, things like that. You can have a more rich sound. They just choose not to do that, and they choose to crank the fucking volume out, blow out all their equipment, and make it sound like shit.
Yeah, but I don't feel that show was an example of that, especially not with Deep Purple when they went on.
Well, yeah, I guess fair enough. They were just shit because they were shit. Anyway.
Yeah. But Judas Priest, I think, played perfectly fine volume-wise. I do think there are concerts where the volume's too loud. But I also think there are ones like Shinedown has a ridiculously loud system, but it works for them. It doesn't sound bad or distorted or anything like that.
I don't recall if I've ever seen Shinedown live.
You have not, but
okay.
I'm telling you, it's the loudest fucking show you'll ever be to, but it works. It does. It honestly sounds better than a lot of the shows I was at. I don't know what it is they do, but
like, there's a lot of bands even, they'll get like, insulation even if the venue sucks, they'll get like foam insulation, pad the walls, give it a warmer, richer sound. Jerked off?
I don't think I have. He said that's not very good. Fuck you! Okay, here we go. Okay, so I think he's talking in between every song because he has to like introduce the album.
Yeah, I guess.
He doesn't usually do that.
Yeah, I guess, because like this is the 20th anniversary and he wants to introduce like their history. And you're right. I guess that kind of makes sense in that case.
Yeah, like I've seen a few live shows on YouTube and whatever, and he doesn't usually talk this much. It's usually like every few songs, not every song. And usually the set list isn't this long either, so he only talks like a few times per show.
We are on Hope Leaves now.
Yeah, this is from Damnation.
Okay.
I know, again, it's like hard to hear him talk. That could be because of our setup, but I also think the mixing of the album fucks it a little.
Down pretty low, so that I
Yeah.
can hear you.
This is kind of the sound of Damnation. If you like this, you'll like the whole album, because every song basically sounds like this.
Like, I will say this. I can tell you what may not be the worst concert I ever saw, but the biggest juxtaposition I've ever seen live. Judas Priest and Deep Purple. Judas Priest was amazing. They played like all of the good songs. They had like a projector in the background. They had like...
It was really good. They brought out a fucking motorcycle for Painkiller.
Yeah, or probably for Hellbent for Leather, but...
Maybe. I thought it was Painkiller, but I might be wrong.
But, I think they played both songs, but...
Maybe they played both songs with the motorcycle.
Maybe. But, like...
We're both right.
Maybe. But, you know, Halford, maybe he doesn't sound quite as good as he did in, like, the 80s or 70s, but he still sounds... I would even argue maybe he sounds better, but in a different way.
I think he's more like... I think age can either destroy your voice like it has done to Danzig, or it can provide you with like an interesting flavor, like it's done with Elton like John. Johann Langfist from Candlemass, or Elton John, or Elton even John. Bob Dylan to some extent. I think he's always sounded like he should be an old man, and now that he really is an old man,
yeah, but like better. He can like. Here's the thing: Bob Dylan doesn't even sing anymore. It's like it's almost like it's almost like spoken word at this point. He can't sing anymore. At least
he tries.
He tried. Okay, he like, you know, back in the day, people said he couldn't sing. He technically could sing. He was just bad at it, and that was on purpose. Like, but like when I saw Bob Dylan live, he was singing, blowing in the wind, and it was like, how many roots must a man walk in before you can carry a man? It's like the same thing. I'm not even exaggerating.
Sounds like Cartman.
I mean, kind of. Maybe that part is like a little bit exaggerated, I guess. But like the spoken, it's like it's barely music anymore. It's at this point, it's just poetry with a backing track.
And by the way, you never finished what you were saying about Judas Priest, because we got to talking about the motorcycle.
Yeah, and then after Judas Priest, we had Deep Purple, and there are people who will defend modern Deep Purple. I am not one of those people. I think, like, okay, Whoosh, that was not a great album. That was not a great album. We did an Audioholics on that when it came out. And then the album before, I think, was a little bit better. But, like, he's still... Like, here's the thing. Ian Gillan arguably could never really sing all that well. But if he could sing well for the first maybe 3 albums at best. And then as early as, say, like... Well, as early as Who Do We Think We Are in, like, 1973, 74... As early as that, he could not hit the high notes anymore. And, like, Born Again was just almost cringy trying to see him try to hit the high notes. And I still love Born Again when he was with Black Sabbath. But
I agree, though. I've never liked Ian Gillan, even in his prime, like Machine Head, Deep Purple and Rock, even those albums which are considered classic in part because of Ian Gillan. I don't really like Ian Gillan, because I feel like he's a one-trick pony. The only thing he can do is go, ah! Which a bunch of other people do better, in my opinion. Like Halford.
I would say, objectively, Gillan was able to do it better than anybody. I think he was able to hit higher notes than, say, Robert Plant,
but like
or
higher
Rob
notes doesn't necessarily make it sound better. I think
Yeah.
Halford's screams had more character. They were heavier sounding. But Ian Gillan I just didn't like it. Oh, also King Diamond. Let's not forget King Diamond.
Oh, yeah, King Diamond. King Diamond is just amazing through and through. He came out with an album like last year, I think, or the year before that, and it sounded indistinguishable from his shit in the 80s with Merciful
Actually,
Fate.
that's just a single. The album's not
Oh.
even out yet.
Oh,
He released that in 2019, I think.
I guess he just wants to sit on it until he can like tour again. But
So the song's over and he's talking about the next one. We're going to be going into Harlequin Forest from Ghost Reveries, which is the album that I was going to recommend you to listen to try and get into Opeth because it has more cleans. There's still growls and heavy parts, but there's more clean stuff on the album. It's a better mix
Okay.
of the two. But it isn't like a concept album or anything, so you might like that. You don't have to
I don't know.
read a lyric list or anything to understand it.
Yeah.
It's more of a straightforward album. So you might like that album, but Damnation, I think, should be your first.
Yeah.
Because if you like Damnation, then you can move into
Yeah.
maybe then you could try out Ghost Reveries, and if you're
always-
still not really a fan, you could go to the prog era.
I've always said that death metal is the perfect gateway drug to get into death metal.
What?
I've always said Opeth is the perfect gateway drug to get into
Oh.
death metal.
You said that death metal is the perfect gateway drug into death
Oh.
metal. I was like, what? I mean, I guess you're not wrong. Opeth is
Yeah.
considered death metal.
Yeah, death
I
metal.
kind of
is death
agree,
metal.
though.
Yeah.
I kind of agree, though. I think, like I said, or like I was saying
I would
earlier.
also argue maybe Death, because like the band Death, because like they are like, you could argue that they're just extreme punk or extreme thrash.
And let me clarify real quick. Death metal is not one of my favorite genres. I like bands from the genre, like Entombed, Morbid Angel, Death, but still not my favorite genre. I would take thrash over death metal most days of the week. I would take prog over death metal most days of the week. Nothing against death metal. I do like it. I just don't like it as much as other genres, you know? And I feel the reason for that is because a lot of it is kind of samey.
I will
Like,
say
very
that,
similar
like,
riffs
there
and
is
feels.
some pretty good. I will say there is like some pretty decent technical like death metal.
That's what I like the most, tech
Like
death.
Opeth and Gojira, I would say are my two favorites.
Yeah, there's a lot more out there, but those are probably my two favorites too. I mean, Gojira is basically the band that got me into death metal. Basically.
Yeah.
If it weren't for that band, I never would have checked out Death or Morbid Angel or any of these other bands, and then I would have never gotten into Opeth. So
Yeah.
for me, it was like the reverse. But I know, like I was saying earlier, for a lot of people I'm talking to on Reddit, like this was their first experience with death metal, Opeth. Although I don't know why so many people entered the band listening to Blackwater Park. I'm not just saying this based on my experience, but that album is so obtuse sometimes.
Well, you got into it through Blackwater Park, right? Or
Still
was it
Life.
Still Life? You're right.
Still
yeah.
Life, yeah. Yeah, I don't understand how anyone could get into this band through Blackwater Park, especially if you're not like knowledgeable about death metal and you're not into that already. Ghost Reveries, without a doubt, would be my suggestion to anybody, just because, I mean, listen to this. This is super clean.
Yeah.
It does get heavier, but
I of the songs that I'd say my two favorite songs that they played so far are this song, which is what's the song again?
Harlequin Forest.
Yeah. And then the first song, which was on the as they were doing the history
I fucking
thing,
love this
which
riff.
was Forest of October. I would say that and this song are my two favorites.
Really?
Yeah. Because
Not anything off of Blackwater Park?
Tyler. Well, no, there actually no. I take it back. There is what was that one acoustic one?
Harvest?
Yes, that's probably another favorite of mine.
Yeah, I'm not sure the studio version of that album is going to convince you of anything then. I mean, you could listen to it. We're going to have to for Rolling Drones, but
Yeah. In that case, I can just push that one off. I'll probably end up listening to Damnation or something in the near future.
okay. I should listen to it with you because
Yeah.
I'm not very familiar with that album. So Window Pane is considered like a classic, one of the best Opeth songs. I think another one from that album that everyone loves is Too Rid of the Disease, I think it's called. I don't know. A lot of people like some songs from Damnation. Yeah, Window Pane and In My Time of Need is what I was thinking of, I think. No, To Rid the Disease is a song. So In My Time of Need, Window Pane, To Rid the Disease, Hope Leaves was the song we heard off this album. There's a few others that I like.
Like some of those albums that I was mentioning, like my favorite live albums, like Live at Leeds, for example. I think we could listen to those because
they're really short.
Yeah, they're really short. It's just one LP.
Isn't Live at Leeds like 25 minutes or something ridiculous like that? Like that one especially is super short.
Yeah, it might be. I don't know, but like it's really good, I think. It has a really kind of raw sound. It's like they basically just took the standard soundboard recordings. I doubt they've really fucking mastered it all that much. Which is funny how many times that album's been remastered when I'm pretty sure it wasn't ever mastered in the first place. But
I'm looking up the length of the album now. It's 37 minutes long, so it's really fucking short.
Yeah, there's like really some good songs on there. Heaven and Hell is a good one. Fortune Teller, that's a cover, I believe.
Wait, we're talking about Live at Leeds?
Yeah.
I don't see either of those songs on the track list.
Oh, wait, maybe...
Young Man Blues, Substitute, Summertime Blues, Shaken All Over, My Generation, and Magic Bus are all the songs.
Oh, maybe. Okay, never mind that. I thought those might have been on like a different set list. One of the ones maybe I have on a bootleg. I don't remember. But...
Or maybe like a different version of the album.
Yeah, that's true, because it could have been like... Oh,
I know there's an expanded edition.
Is this a song you played me like the other day that I said sounded like No Quarter?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, that's it. I did hear.
I'm surprised you remembered it.
I remembered it specifically because it sounded like No Quarter.
I actually don't know whether or not Ackerfeld was like a fan of Led Zeppelin.
I don't know.
I actually don't know.
Probably. I mean, everybody's a fan of Led Zeppelin except you, Tyler.
I mean, it's not that I hate Led Zeppelin. I don't know. Okay, I find their music to be kind of obtuse.
Yeah, but, you don't worship Led Zeppelin like 329,000,99999, etc. people in the United States and all over the world.
Yeah.
Over 7 billion. So
I mean, frankly, I think Cactus is a better band.
I never really like... Here's the thing. The difference between Zeppelin is like they are both like amplified blues. Like neither one of them I would consider to be a metal band per se.
No.
But like Led Zeppelin comes closer.
Led Zeppelin has better riffs, but like their songwriting
better riffs,
in my opinion, very good.
I would say even better songwriting, better vocals for sure.
No, I don't even really like Rob Plant very much.
Robert Plant is a really good... Like, even when he couldn't hit the high notes, I think he had a more bluesy sound.
I don't know. I don't like his voice. It kind of grates on my ears a lot of the time.
I think it's like a lot smoother.
It reminds me of AC/DC, honestly. His voice does. If like Robert Plant could totally sing even the most annoying AC/DC songs.
I guess, but like, here's the thing with Cactus is like, I don't even remember the vocals. They're just so generic. They don't do anything special.
I mean, just because something is unique doesn't necessarily make it good. The Room is unique, but I would never call that a good movie.
Okay, but Robert Plant is unique and good.
Not in my opinion.
Okay, then. Well, your opinion is wrong.
And like I think Cactus is better because their songwriting is better.
I mean,
Their
I would
vocals
say,
are good, but their songwriting is just straight up superior,
I
in
would
my
say,
opinion.
listen, if you want some variety, listen to the Physical Graffiti album. It's
I
not.
mean, I've heard it. It's a
Oh,
good album.
I was gonna say, like, because Physical Graffiti is not my favorite Led Zeppelin album, but it is unarguably the most diverse.
Yeah, I mean, like, don't get me wrong. Led Zeppelin's a good band. It just comes down to preference. I personally don't like their style.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd ever sit here and say they're a bad band. I just personally prefer
Maybe,
Cactus.
I don't know. Maybe that's a sign that I need to try Cactus again. I think you made me listen to their debut album, and I didn't like
I
it.
did.
Or not that I didn't like it, but like I didn't.
Oh, I own that
have
album
the-
now.
Oh yeah, that's right. I didn't have like the throbbing erection that you had for it.
I need to like, well, and it could also just come down to your tastes are different from my tastes. You know,
There's a song that I do like from Cactus though. I think it's called like Evil Walks or something.
probably just Evil. It was a cover. I forget who did it originally.
But I don't remember what it was, but it had like a really good riff.
Speaking of good riffs,
Kind of had it had like a southern rock kind of feel to it. And that's the other thing with Cactus is I don't really like southern rock. There's bands I do like in that genre, Leonard Skinner, Allman Brothers to some degree I can tolerate. Molly Hatchet, ZZ Top to some degree I can tolerate. Like,
I love this riff at the end. This is
Yeah.
like the outro riff.
but like Cactus kind of falls, I think, more in line with like the ZZ Top, Skinnerd end of like blues rock. And I don't necessarily love either one of those bands.
Yeah, so we've got one song left.
Okay, thank God.
I mean, honestly, for me, this has gone by like that. With the
Yeah, I'm sure it
exception
did.
of Forest of October, which I still think is a bit of a long song, but I guess no longer than some of the other Opeth songs. Just feels longer.
I would say, well, so ranking this album is going to be difficult because it's basically like ranking Opeth's entire discography.
I mean, I don't know if I'd say that. They played one song from every album and then Blackwater Park.
Yeah, but you get like, it's a sampler. It's like Opeth's greatest hits.
Yeah, you know what? It's funny. I didn't even plan that. I had no idea that there was one song from every album exactly.
I would
worked
say
out real
like
well.
overall the actual on the standpoint of the actual concert and the set list. Well, the set list, I would say my understanding is this is not necessarily prime Opeth, at least with some of these songs.
Yeah, well, definitely like the performance vocally is not as good as it was like in the 90s.
I would
sure.
say
Early
overall this is
2000s.
maybe like a 7.5 out of 10 for me because it
Really,
does
you're
go
going
on.
that low?
Well, okay, because it's not the best Opeth. It does drag in part due to, songs that fucking drag. But
Yeah, if there's one negative about Opeth, I'll fully admit it's that sometimes they are a little bit
too much.
they indulge in themselves a bit too much.
And Michael Achterfeld doesn't really do this any favors by being boring and dry as shit.
I mean, I don't think he's boring. I mean, he's made plenty of jokes that made me laugh.
Like,
But
there was maybe one off of this album. I'd say I'm judging by this album alone.
yeah, but again, I wouldn't say he's being boring. At least not in my opinion. I think part of the problem is at least I can't really hear what he's saying, but when I can hear what he's saying, I don't mind it.
I mean, he's being informative, and I like that, but I don't know. I
don't
just
really like
wish-
that he talks after every song, though.
Yeah, I understand why he does it. I just wish he was, maybe a bit more interesting.
Yeah, so this is from Watershed. This would have been their last album before this came out, I believe.
Oh, okay.
But
Wait, so
after
they'd only
Watershed,
released-
that's
hold
when
on.
they went into their really
So
progressive clean stuff.
So they had released what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 albums before. Actually, yeah, that is quite a bit.
Watershed is basically like the perfect transition from their older death metal stuff to their newer progressive 70s influence stuff. As a result, like, I haven't heard it yet, but we'll see. So yeah, there's Orchid, Morning Rise, My Arms Are Hers, Still Life, Blackwater Park, Deliverance, Damnation, Ghost Reveries, and then Watershed. So 9 albums. After that, they released Watershed, which is 10, Pale Communion, which is 11, Sorceress, which is 12.
Watershed. You said Watershed. This is off Watershed.
No,
right?
Heritage. Heritage.
Oh, Heritage.
Yep.
Okay.
And then Pale Communion, then Sorceress, and then Incata Venenum. So that's what, 1, 2, 3, 4 extra? 13 albums.
Please, I'm begging you, do not make me do this for a wrong opinion.
This
That
was going to
just
be our
sounds-
next one, actually.
No, it's not going to be.
We agreed on it.
Okay, well, I'm backing out of the deal. This album, like, I'm not listening to 13 albums of drony proggy bullshit.
I feel like you would like it more in album form.
Maybe, I don't know. I feel like I would like it
since
less.
it's a pretty diverse discography.
I guess, but I feel like I would like
Especially
it
after Ghost Reveries.
Yeah.
I don't
And
know.
I'd have to,
Maybe.
I'd have to eat like so many vegetables before I got to the dessert, you know?
I don't know. For all you know, you might like the earlier albums better, like Orchid,
Maybe.
since it's
Yeah,
more
maybe.
like black metal influenced.
Fair enough. This song is probably... This might actually be my favorite song.
This is off Watershed. That's an
Yeah.
album a lot of people love, but since it's like, again, it's considered to be that perfect transition between the death metal era and the prog 70s influenced era, I don't know if I'm going to like it much, because I don't tend to like albums that are in that sort of transition era.
I guess.
I don't really like it with Metallica. I don't really like it with...
I don't know if Metallica ever really had a transition era. Like, they just kind of like flicked a switch and like, oh, we're mainstream now. Here's the Black Album. Oh, we're even more mainstream now. Here's Load and Reload. Oh, we're terrible now. Here's Saint Anger. Like,
I think that that Load is in a lot of ways sort of a transition album from like the previous era of the band into the
yeah,
new
but
era.
like Saint Anger sounded nothing like Load and Reload.
I guess they
And
must have
honestly,
realized Load
nothing.
and Reload doesn't really have a sound that they can stick with.
I mean, it's like mostly kind of country rock /
Yeah, it's like southern rock a lot of the
like
time.
maybe it's like southern rock mixed with like watered down black metal.
Yeah, I
Black
was
metal.
thinking Load,
Black
but
album.
I just think a lot of times transition albums, they have the sound, but the sound isn't perfected or polished yet, and so
Yeah.
it's not very good. Then you move on to the next album and it is good. So
Well, the next
I've been
album would
avoiding
be-
Watershed,
The next
but-
album would have been Saint Anger, so you know.
yeah. But in my opinion, Reload's better than Load, so the rule kind of still works there.
Yeah, but they're like the same album.
I think
It's
Reload's
like saying
better.
one
though.
half of an album is better than the other half. Like,
Well, they were recorded at different times.
really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Then
I think so, anyway. I mean, if they were both recorded at the same time, then I take back what I'm saying. But I'm pretty sure they were recorded at 2 separate times.
You know, going back to Judas Priest, did you know Turbo and Ram It Down were recorded at the same time and were originally supposed to be a double album?
I did not know that, but it explains why neither album is very good.
Yeah, like, so Turbo was supposed to be the more mainstream album. And then...
Really? Isn't that the heavier of the two, though?
No, Turbo is the one that's
like more hair metal, but Ram It
I'm
Down is
your
like much more mainstream.
Turbo lover. And then Ram It Down was, I think, a little bit closer to classic Priest.
Really? I never really liked it. I thought it was like maybe not too much of a departure like Turbo, but
It's
just too
not-
mainstream.
Yeah, well,
Too poppy sounding.
yeah, I don't like Ram It Down either, but like that was the intention. It was like the intention was supposed to be like Turbo is like this album that goes in a completely different direction, and then Ram It Down is slightly more classic Priest. And honestly, I'm kind of glad they didn't go in that route because I feel like that would have just not worked.
I'm guessing people really like this part of the song.
Yeah.
Because they were cheering for it. I've never heard the song, so we'll have to see. No, but I think my opinion of the album's a little bit more positive because although I am also annoyed by the talking after every song, again, I keep saying this, I can't hear it, so I don't know if what he's saying is interesting. And also we keep talking over him, so I mean,
Yeah,
I don't
well,
even if you think he's boring, how would you know? You're not even listening to him.
I told you not to talk over him, motherfucker.
Yeah, but I can't hear him, so whoa, this is really jazzy. My God.
Yeah.
I really like
total
hearing
Gentle
the
Giant fan fiction.
snapshot of each era of the band, like
Yeah.
each album, which does
Like
something
how they
completely different
evolved.
from the last. I will say that some of the song choices are a little questionable. I mean, why didn't you play Window Pane off Damnation? Why didn't you play Deliverance or Master's Apprentices off Deliverance? Why didn't you play basically anything else off of
Yeah, so like, okay,
My Arms Your Hearse? I don't like, get it, but
so okay, Tyler, if you look at this a little bit objectively,
I am. Let me finish. And the other thing is that they play the whole Blackwater Park album in the beginning. If I wanted to listen to Blackwater Park, I would just listen to Blackwater Park.
Well, okay.
If I want to hear a live show, I want more of a variety. So I'm not sure I even really like that. It's cool that it's here, but
yeah, but like
I prefer the second
half. They're the
only
band to do that. And if it's a concept album, a lot of times they will do that too.
Yeah,
like
I prefer the
Pink
second
Floyd
half. Always there's more variety of songs.
Like Pink Floyd always played the entirety of Dark Side of the Moon in their set list, and I wouldn't have it any other way.
That's fine, but that's not something Black or Opeth usually do. They just did it because it was like the 20th anniversary of Blackwater Park, I guess. But I'm just saying, as a listening experience, it's just Blackwater Park, but slightly worse because we don't get Steven Wilson's mixes or contributions.
Yeah. So like, if you look at it objectively, which I guess you are, if you look at it objectively, what you're left with is a 2.5 hour long, 2 hours 45 minutes long album that does a good job of displaying Opeth's greatest hits, but it's kind of ruined by the fact that most of those songs dragged ad nauseum, and two, the bits in the middle, which are necessary, granted, but not very exciting. And that's just because I don't think Michael Achterfeldt is a very exciting frontman. So that's why I believe that 7.5 out of 10 is more than fair.
I don't know. I feel like you should watch some videos of him because he's like a very personable, like people fucking love this guy. He's very humble and down to earth, very personable, very like he has a very strong personality too.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll just send you that song of him watching fan covers because that gives you a good idea of what he's like as a person. But
all right,
I don't know. I feel like one of the best parts of
is it just like
Opeth,
a live stream or something where people send in their? Oh, okay.
I think one of the best parts of Opeth is Michael Achterfeldt. I think he's an amazing songwriter. He's got an amazing singing voice.
Okay.
Got a great presence on the album.
Let me rephrase what I said because I totally agree with what you're saying. I just don't think he's
like him talking was kind of boring to you.
I just don't think he's a very exciting showman.
At least for like this album. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
I think like in the live things I've seen on YouTube, he just kind of like makes jokes in between songs, which I appreciate because I like to laugh and then go into something insanely depressing like Blackwater Park. I feel like the biggest thing that might annoy you about Opeth is they are pretty big in self-indulgence sometimes. And I do believe their songs drag occasionally. I wouldn't say most of the songs on this album drag, but I would say some of them certainly. Forest of October, Wreath. What's the other song I thought dragged a lot? It was one of the longer ones. Advent. Advent from Morning Rise. Not that I dislike any of those songs, though. It's a mark against them for sure, but that doesn't mean they're bad songs. I still very much enjoyed this entire album through and through. And, like, as far as if I wanted to just sit down and listen to a few hours of Opeth, this wouldn't be a bad choice. In fact, if I got the chance, I'd probably buy this on vinyl. I think,
this is 3 CDs long. Imagine how many vinyls it is.
It'd probably be 4, I think. It'd probably be 4.
Probably.
So 2 for Blackwater Park and then 2 for the other side.
Yeah.
Because I know Blackwater Park, I think, is 2 vinyls. I know Still Life is. I know Still Life is 2 vinyls.
It's probably just like a giant box set. But hey, guess what?
Maybe.
We
but it's
are
over now.
Done.
It's been over for a minute. So before you go on to talk about well, actually I think you already gave your rating and talked about it. I already
gave my rating, yeah.
I think for me it's a little bit more complex because I really don't enjoy the song choices much, but I do like those songs for the most part, with the exception of Wreath. Although, like I said, I think I like it more on this album than on the studio album because it's just heavier live. It just sounds heavier and more aggressive live than it did on the album, and so it works better. But there's just some baffling song choices. I mean, speaking of Wreath, who likes Wreath over Deliverance? Deliverance is considered one of the best songs Opeth has ever written, period. That's a complete fan favorite. Why didn't they play that? They still play that at shows. That's usually the closer, I think.
Nah, I'm kidding.
Master's Apprentices is also an extremely popular song. Why the fuck didn't they play that? I don't understand these song choices. I thought maybe they were just choosing like the first song from every album, but then Hope Leaves and Harlequin Forest and Lotus Eater come around. None of those songs were the first song. You're not even being consistent, dude. If you were going to pick the first song from every album, fine, but you didn't even do that. So why is Wreath there?
Tyler, tell me how you really feel.
Well, I am. No, I mean, not to get stuck on a petty point. I just, with live albums in particular, I become a bit of a stickler about the set list. Because if I'm going to take time out of my day to go and listen to something as pointless, in my opinion, as a live album, it better be a damn good set list. It better have most of the songs I would want to hear from that era of the band. And if it doesn't, why would I listen to it over just a playlist of the studio songs?
Here is my rebuttal to that. Live albums, especially now, are a good archive of when the band was in their prime. So,
yeah, but this isn't even that.
Yeah, well, yeah, fair enough. But especially the classic live albums, like Unleashed in the East by Judas Priest, they are never going to sound like that again. It's just because they're all older, and that's fine. But
I don't know if this album has the potential to be considered a classic metal live album. I don't know if it does.
I don't think
and
so.
I really wish it did. Well, I don't think that matters. I think the Iced Earth album is longer, and that is still, in my opinion, better than most of the classic metal albums you've talked about so far.
People actually listen to it on a regular
basis. Who cares?
Basis. Yeah.
Who cares?
You were talking about classic live albums, so...
Well, I mean, there are things that are considered classic that a lot of people don't listen to, like Dark Throne, Transylvanian Hunger. I mean, it's black metal. It's not a very popular genre, but still, it's considered classic.
It's a subset of metal. Again, I argue... Well, metal, I guess, is now more popular than it has been in the past 40 years, something like that. But
here's what I think. I think most people who have heard the Alive in Athens record agree it's a fucking amazing live album and should be considered a classic live album. I don't think I've heard of anybody talk about that album that didn't say pretty much exactly that.
Is that Athens, Georgia, or Athens, Greece?
Greece.
Oh, really?
Yeah. it's just a great fucking live album. This is not a bad live album. It's just okay. And another issue I kind of have with this is, like I said
So I
about the
guess
Blackwater Park
so
section.
so just real quick, are you telling me that like Iced Earth stormed 2 Capitol buildings? 2 capitals?
It was just John.
Yeah, but like, you know, none of the band really like gave that sincere of
Well,
a
and keep in mind, this album came out when the band was in its prime, like with Matt
Yeah.
Barlow and different other members too. So I don't even know if there are any consistent members that are in Ice Earth now that were in the band back then, aside from
okay.
John Schaefer. I think it's just John Schaefer. But anyway, like most of this album is pretty much identical to the studio versions. And that is incredibly impressive until you realize that is as an album, I could just listen to the better, more interesting sound quality version with the studio release. Why would I ever go out of my way to listen to the Blackwater Park version of this album over the original with the studio? Why would I do that?
So
It
what
just
is your
sounds
final
worse.
what,
It just
what would
sounds
you say
worse.
your final rating would be?
I'll get there, but I feel like I have to discuss the different facets of the album first. I can't just go out with a rating and say it was
Nobody's
okay
watching
like
at
you.
this point.
Well, maybe not, but nobody watched yours either then.
Yeah.
I mean, my
That's
point
why I kept it
being,
short.
yeah, but short is uninteresting.
Yeah.
Like if I were reading a review, I wouldn't want the reviewer to go, it was really long and self-indulgent, 7.5. I would want to hear more, which is why I'm giving a more in-depth explanation. I'm going to go 6.5, actually.
Really? Really? So you're going lower than I did?
Because my grading system is based on whether or not I would really return to this album and
Oh
listen
Christ,
to
no!
it.
I would. You know what? You're right. Yeah, 6, like 6.5. You're right. I'm never listening to this shit again.
Exactly. Like I would totally come back and listen to maybe individual tracks like Bleak or
Yeah,
The
maybe.
More or whatever, but I would never come back and listen to this whole thing again.
Oh Christ! Just thinking about that is giving me a heart attack.
I would like. Is it a decent album to just put on shuffle if you wanted to listen to some Opeth? Fine,
Yeah.
but we already have playlists for that. You know? I mean, don't get me wrong. I didn't hate my time with it. It's just there are things that are better than it that I could listen to instead. You know?
Yeah.
So I think with that we can wrap it up. I'm a 6.5. You're a what now?
You know what? I'll stick with my 7.5.
Really?
Just because I already said it. I already said it in stone. I'm not gonna bother changing it.
Okay. So 7.5, 6.5, or I guess 6.5, whatever you want.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if there are anybody still watching, what did you think about the live album? What do you think about Opeth? What era of the band do you prefer? God knows they've got quite a few of them. Yeah.
And if you did make it to the end, we bid you audio apologies. No, audio do. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.